Chapter 2148, My name is Tang Renjie. Chapter 2148, My name is Tang Renjie. The 100,000 planes trembled non-stop. God Hong Tu looked at the collapsed main temple and heaved a deep sigh. Zhong Xian narrowed his eyes. A sharp and cold glint flashed in his eyes, as he coldly spat out two words, Long Fei. Then, a burst of power burst out from Hong Tu's body. This power was like light that sprinkled down, enveloping 100,000 planes. The shaking in the plane of the main temple disappeared. The shock wave from the ancient god battle disappeared, and the light continued to spread. In the end, the shaking 100,000 planes began to stabilize. This was a power to restore 100,000 planes to normal. This showed how powerful the power of main god was. All the gods knelt on the ground, not daring to raise their heads. After a long time, one of the deities dared to look up, only to see that the sovereign had disappeared. The sovereign has returned. Long Fei, it's time for your death. Where did the Lord God go? Needless to say, who could cause 100,000 planes to become like this? Long Fei. Lord God must have gone to look for that brat Long Fei. Long Fei, just you wait. All the gods in the shrine became excited. With the disappearance of the sovereign, it was clear that he had gone to find Long Fei, who would also die very soon. Sovereigns. The chief sovereigns of the 100,000 planes. The most powerful powerhouse. Furthermore, no one knew how powerful he had become, but what was certain was that in the 100,000 planes, no one was a match for him, including Long Fei. Beneath God's mountain's feet, Long Fei stopped and looked into the sky. Sensing the power of the light released by the sovereign, he said faintly, "What a powerful aura." Jojo was startled, and immediately said, "Young master, Sovereign Hong Tu is back." "Huh? Sovereign?" Long Fei was also secretly surprised. If not for Jojo mentioning him, Long Fei would have forgotten about this shadow of main god that was killed by the heavenly emperor that he summoned. He was secretly excited. The final boss of the 100,000 planes is about to appear. There was no fear in Long Fei's eyes, but instead an indescribable excitement. A game, if you kill the ultimate boss, then this game will be destroyed. A sovereign had appeared. Kill 100,000 planes would be destroyed by Long Fei, and then, they would be able to pass through, allowing them to enter the universal large world. Right now, Long Fei was not interested in the 100,000 planes. The appearance of the ancient inheritance, the appearance of the Ming clan, the background strength of his clan's dragon manor and the Mu clan meant that Long Fei was very interested in the location of his mother. He was the center of this game. He wanted to see what kind of game it was, and also wanted to know who was the one who was going to deal with the dragon manor and Mu clan. Who was the one who was going to put him to death? All of these could only be solved after Long Fei entered the universal world. Thus, Long Fei was very excited by the appearance of the ultimate boss. Jojo said, "Young master, are you not worried at all?" Long Fei laughed and said, "What are you worried about? When the boss comes, of course, we will have to deal with it. It's useless to worry about that." Jojo also smiled, thinking about what happened to Long Fei in the extreme darkness. He could not help but ask, "Young master, can you promise me one thing?" Long Fei said, "Go ahead." Jojo said, "You have to promise me first." Looking at Jojo's serious expression, Long Fei lightly scratched her nose and said, "Okay, I promise you. No matter what you say, I will agree." Jojo's face reddened. She did not avoid Long Fei's hand as she lightly stroked the bridge of her nose and muttered, "Young master, I'm no longer a child." Long Fei glanced at Jojo's chest, and laughed. It has become bigger. He hadn't looked at it seriously in the past, but now that he looked at it carefully, he could see that Jojo was slim and elegant. Of course, Jojo was the first woman that Long Fei had ever seen when he came to this world. With a single glance, he knew that she would be extremely beautiful in the future. Jojo looked at the eyes of Long Fei staring at his chest, his face reddening even more as he said, "Young master." Long Fei smiled and said, all right, let's stop this." "Speak." Jojo said seriously, "I want you to promise me that you are not to use the power of your blood essence in the future. Although I do not know what kind of power your blood essence contains, Young master, please do not use it anymore, okay? Jojo is really worried. She was really afraid that Long Fei would not be able to breathe in her arms again. Long Fei looked at Jojo, whose eyes were filled with tears, and gently pulled her into his embrace. Cough cough. At this moment, leaning on a big tree at the side of the passage to God's mountain was a young man. He looked to be around 20 years old. He was carrying a sword on his back. Beside him was a dog that always had the appearance of a husky. It was unknown whether it was a wolf or a dog, but judging from its appearance, it should be a dog. The man coughed. It was only then that Long Fei noticed him, his heart trembling slightly, as he thought to himself, when did he appear? Why haven't I noticed him? Right now, Long Fei's cultivation was already terrifying enough. Aside from the sovereign, other than the evil god, his level had already reached peak realm. The power of the ancient code surrounded him from the left and right, so no aura could escape from his senses, but Long Fei did not sense the young man's aura. Very strange. Jojo's body also trembled, and he immediately came out of Long Fei's embrace, his expression returning to normal. Long Fei looked at the man and asked, "People from the God's Mountain?" When the man saw Long Fei looking at him, he immediately revealed a smile. He walked up with a smile and extended his right hand, saying, "Hehe, this is the first time we're meeting. I'll introduce myself first. This is my mount. Chinatown." Long Fei looked at the man, and said, "This name." Without waiting for him to finish speaking, Tang Renjie immediately said, "All right. I came up with the name myself, all right?" Heh. Good, good, good. Long Fei laughed, but was secretly on guard in his heart. This is the God's Mountain. It was the place where Zhong Wushuang's master had once cultivated. No matter who this man was, he had to keep his distance and stay vigilant. Tang Renjie acted as if he did not sense Long Fei's intention to keep a distance and wanted to hold Long Fei's hand, but he also failed to do so. He was not embarrassed either as he said, "I am not someone from God's Mountain. I know your name. Your name is Long Fei. You are very powerful. About that. I want to be your little brother." Not waiting for him to finish, Long Fei and Jojo had already walked more than 10 meters away, and had no intention of paying attention to Tang Renjie at all. Tang Renjie chased in a hurry, and asked, "Boss Long, do you accept me?" Long Fei shook his head, and said, "No. Take it. You have so many brothers, so what's wrong with taking me in?" "Take me in, okay?" Tang Renjie said with an awkward expression, as if he was saying that he wouldn't accept him. Long Fei continued to shake his head, "No. This is your last chance. This is your last chance." A person who was willing to be a lackey had suddenly appeared out of nowhere. Moreover, the first feeling this person gave Long Fei was, it was a little mysterious. The second feeling was, too strong. The third feeling was still, too strong. However, as for the purpose of this person named Tang Renjie, Long Fei did not know. Long Fei was now the #1 wanted criminal in Main Temple. After he killed Zhong Wushuang, the Main Temple had even raised his bounty to an unprecedented level. Who knew if this guy was here to kill him? Tang Renjie, my cultivation is very strong. Long Fei, not interested. Tang Renjie, I can cook, learn alchemy, and even forge artifacts. I can fight 100 of them all by myself. Long Fei, not interested. Tang Renjie, Boss Long, please give me some face. No matter what, I am a descendant of the Tang dynasty's king. Long Fei, I don't. Tang Renjie. He kept following behind Long Fei, pestering him the entire way. However, Long Fei did not accept it. The three of them walked all the way to the summit of God's Mountain. Long Fei sensed for a bit, then asked slightly, "Is there anyone here?" Tang Renjie immediately jumped forward and said, "Everyone here has long since left. There's not a single person in God's Mountain. Who are you looking for?" "I'm looking for someone of the first class." "That's not right. My mount is looking for a first-rate rider." Speaking of his mount, Long Fei glanced at it. Jojo said in disdain, "That's called a mount. I think you are its mount." Along the way, Tang Renjie carried the husky on his shoulder. Just as Jojo had said, he should be the dog's mount. It was very strange. Tang Renjie scratched his head. My mount is not used to the environment here. It's a little sick. It'll be fine once he gets used to it. How could a mount not submit to the elements? Isn't this too ridiculous? Long Fei didn't pay any attention to him, and said, I'm not looking for anyone. His soul controlling moved slightly. Buzz. A light sound came from the sky and engulfed the entire God's Mountain. Long Fei frowned slightly. It clearly has a lot of souls. Why can't I sense their position? Long Fei could feel a large wave of soul. They were somewhere in the God's Mountain, but he couldn't sense their specific location. Very strange. It should be a protective barrier that was able to block everything in its path. Tang Renjie looked at the crease between Long Fei's brows and immediately said with a laugh, Boss Long, do you need any help? Looking at his anxious expression, he casually said, Can you sense that place in God's Mountain has a large number of souls? Tang Renjie was ecstatic, and immediately said, If I can find it, can you accept me as your little brother? Long Fei said, Let's find him first. Long Fei did not hold any hope for him and had only asked him to rest for a while. If he could not even sense the exact position when he controlled the soul controlling, it was even more impossible for Tang Renjie to sense it. However, not waiting for 10 seconds, Tang Renjie said, Below the Great Hall, in a secret room, there is a protective barrier over this room. Long Fei was in disbelief. Tang Renjie replied, Boss Long, I'll bring you there. As he spoke, he strode towards the God of Heaven Palace. Long Fei reminded Jojo, Be careful. And then, Long Fei followed him. Indeed, just as Tang Renjie had said, there was a huge secret room at the bottom of the hall. The secret room was the cultivation room, and it should be Zhong Wushuang's training room. There was a huge cage on the other side of the room. There was a barrier over the cage. There were hundreds of millions of souls flowing within the cage. They were like a spirit body, and some of them were even incomparably familiar to Long Fei. These should be the souls of the Long family. Long Fei became anxious and clenched his fists tightly. These souls were extracted from the Chaos realm. Even though the Destiny God was being killed, the anger in Long Fei's heart was still bubbling. Tang Renjie immediately asked, Boss Long, do you want to remove this barrier? At this moment, rumble. The sky suddenly sank and an incomparable pressure seemed to collapse from the sky, directly enveloping the entire God's Mountain and becoming incomparably powerful. Poochie. Jojo's body sank, her face became pale, and she was unable to take it. If not for Long Fei's quick support, she would have already knelt on the ground. Long Fei endured it. However, his face also turned slightly pale. He couldn't even withstand the impact of the powerful force that struck his mind and spirit. Sovereign. Long Fei clenched his teeth and shouted. In the entire 100,000 planes, only sovereigns were able to unleash such a powerful aura. Then, Long Fei stared at the dumbstruck Tang Renjie and said, You want to be my little brother? Protect her. As soon as he finished, Long Fei rose from the ground, rushed out of the secret basement, and directly broke through the ground and flew into the air. Tang Renjie reacted and immediately said, Understood. And then, he whispered to himself, I should be protecting you. Long Fei. The one who came was none other than Sovereign Hong Tu. An enormous silhouette floated in mid-air. His figure was like a layer of sky, enveloping the entire God's Mountain. A boundless aura of a sovereign. Pressure. Within a radius of millions of kilometers, it was completely silent. Even the wind wouldn't be able to blow in. This was the first time Long Fei had felt such a strong power. Long Fei broke through the surface of the ground and flew into the air, looking at the sky filled with golden light, as if the entire world was made of gold. F***CK, the final boss is the final boss. Long Fei had seen many bosses. However, he had never seen a boss with such a dazzling golden glow. The final boss wasn't an ordinary boss. Long Fei grinned excitedly, and said, What do you want Grandpa to do? Arrogant. The sovereign stared at him. Boom. Thunder rumbled and the pressure was like a beam of light that bombarded downwards. The center of Long Fei's brows tightened, and all of a sudden, the power of 129 law energies surged out of his body, and blocked the attack. Rumble. 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 As the two forces clashed, the explosive force from the explosion wreaked havoc in the surroundings. The space between God's eyebrows tightened as he said faintly, "I didn't think that you would actually control more than 120 types of power of laws. Long Fei, I have really underestimated you." "No wonder." Long Fei laughed and said, "No wonder what?" The sovereign said, "No wonder so many people from the other realms are keeping an eye on you. Foreign lands. Universal large world." Long Fei's heart trembled. The god laughed. "Not bad, you also know that universal large world is right. Universal large world does have quite a few people who are paying attention to you. However, with just these 129 laws here, you're nothing but a piece of trash in front of me." The sovereign only knew that Long Fei's background was not simple. He did not know that Long Fei had the power of the ancient inheritance. The god stared at Long Fei and said, "Long Fei, I will give you one last chance. Submit to me. Consider carefully. This is your last chance." Chapter 2150 Outer Space Powerhouse. Chapter 2150 Outer Space Powerhouse. Long Fei's background was complex and powerful. If he were to offend such a person, it would not be good for Hong Tu. Moreover, he had promised others that he would bring Long Fei into the universal large world alive. Thus, he did not want to kill Long Fei. Hong Tu said blandly, "As long as you submit to me, I will bring you into the outer realm, and I will even allow you to control 100,000 planes." "How is it?" Long Fei grinned. "There's no need to think about it." Hong Tu laughed. "Indeed, there is no need to consider it further. In the 100,000 planes, no one would reject such a condition, and no one would dare to reject me. Ha ha ha. Only a fool would refuse. Only fools would go against the strongest experts of the 100,000 planes." Last time when he gave Long Fei a choice, Long Fei did not compromise. That was because last time, he was only a shadow of main god. This time, the sovereign had personally come. Who dared to refuse? Ha ha ha. Long Fei also laughed out loud and said, "I will reject it, and if you, this ultimate boss, don't take it out, how can I leave?" In that instant, the aura within a 1,000,000-kilometer radius suddenly became extremely dark and cold. The ancient fire soul in Long Fei's body also suddenly started to circulate. The sovereign's gaze darkened, staring straight at Long Fei, who was like an ant in his eyes. He coldly asked, "What are you talking about?" "Long Fei, don't refuse a toast to my wine. What you've done is enough to kill you 100 times over. Don't think that just because you've grasped a bit of the power of the laws you can do whatever you want in front of me. To me, your power of the laws is nothing more than thin paper, not even worth a single blow." Hong Tu's voice was filled with anger. He was very unhappy to be rejected. Moreover, what Long Fei had said made him even more unhappy. Long Fei grinned. "Was what I said not clear enough? I don't need anyone to give me what I want. I will take it myself. Whoever dares to stop me will die the same way. God is the same as you." In addition, Long Fei laughed excitedly. "I want to kill this big boss. Hee hee. Very arrogant. So what if he was a sovereign? So what if he was a chief sovereign of 100,000 planes? It was the same. Since he was unhappy, he might as well do it." The sovereign's eyes were filled with rage. His enormous eyes bulged out as he growled, "You are courting death." Rumble. Rumble. The air rumbled, and endless sounds of explosions rang out. The entire God's Mountain seemed as though it was about to be shattered into pieces as an endless pressure came crushing down from above. The pressure of a sovereign. This kind of pressure was filled with boundless killing intent. It completely crushed Long Fei. Long Fei's entire body was in incomparable discomfort. His power of law was like a mouse that had seen a cat, and he didn't dare to raise his head. Unhappy. Very unhappy. Hong Tu shouted, "Long Fei, who do you think you are? Fight with me. You must have the qualifications to fight me. You killed a few God of Law-s, and control a few of the power of law, and you think you're invincible? Humph. You overestimating yourself. If it wasn't for someone from the other realms wanting you to live, do you think you could still be standing and talking to me?" Hong Tu said heavily. He was the ruler of 100,000 planes. He was the king. Who would dare to disobey? His aura of suppression and power crushed down. Although he had long prepared in his heart, he never thought that the power of the ancient code would actually be useless in front of a sovereign. He didn't think that it would even be of use to a god. However, no matter what kind of powerhouse Long Fei faced, he would not cower. Facing the pressure from Hong Tu's sovereign powers, Long Fei's thoughts moved: blood essence, Ming clan's imprint. Invincible state. The idea moved. He couldn't care less at this time. God Hong Tu's forehead tightened. You still want to resist? Humph. Kneel. The endless sea of sovereigns moved, and the skies above them sank as they struck out with heavy blows. Kneel before your ancestors. Long Fei roared out, and released the blood essence. At this moment, at the door of the God of Heaven Hall, Tang Renjie brought Jojo and walked out. Watching the forces in the sky collide, it was like a battle between gods. He said softly, Boss Long, what happened? Do you need help? As soon as the voice was heard, suddenly, the look in God Hong Tu's eyes went away and he was slightly shocked in his heart. He was the same as Long Fei. He could only sense Jojo's aura, but not Tang Renjie's aura. Moreover, as soon as Tang Renjie finished speaking, the pressure on his sovereign's might seemed to have received a shock wave like never before, and instantly disappeared into the distance of 1,000,000 kilometers. The pressure of the sovereign's might suddenly disappeared. Long Fei was also startled, but he didn't have time to think about it too much. He shouted, Protect Jojo well. The sovereign was stunned as well. He didn't think too much either. He was the paragon of 100,000 planes. Who could fight against him? In an instant, the sovereign moved, and the immense pressure came crushing down once again. He shouted heavily, Long Fei, kneel down obediently. The massive sovereign power once more struck out. Even the god's mountain was trembling. Countless mountain peaks crumbled and the solid rocks were turned into dust. It was as if the world had come to an end. Just when it was about to crush onto Long Fei, Tang Renjie once again scratched his head and shouted, Boss Long, do you really not need help? I'm your little brother. You don't even need me for free. Buzz. As soon as his voice faded, the might and pressure released by Hong Tu once again vanished, completely disappearing. Hong Tu was secretly shocked in his heart. Long Fei yelled out, and said, What are you yelling for? I told you to protect Jojo, so you should protect Jojo. Long Fei was about to get angry. Tang Renjie smiled innocently, and said, all right, I understand. The sovereign Hong Tu released yet another wave of powerful energy. Long Fei prepared everything. But, in that moment, Husky, who was riding on Tang Renjie's shoulder, suddenly opened his eyes, and glared at her. Sovereign Hong Tu's heart suddenly trembled. Who? In that instant, Hong Tu's mind seemed to have been crushed by a wave of energy. It was incomparably uncomfortable. Outer space powerhouse? Hong Tu quickly withdrew his strength and stared at Long Fei. He then looked at Tang Renjie, who had an expression of helplessness, and then looked at the Husky, who had a face of soil and water on his shoulder. He could not find the source of this power. However, one thing was certain. Someone was helping Long Fei from the shadows, and this person was extremely strong. And then again, this person must be outer space powerhouse. Hong Tu's mind secretly tensed up. What is outer space powerhouse doing here? Then, Hong Tu looked at Long Fei and said, Long Fei, we shall see inside the battleground. His figure moved. It vanished in an instant. Long Fei had a stupefied face. He simply did not know what had happened. What the F****k? What the F***k? Thank you for your support. Chapter 2151, The Omnipotent Tang Renjie. Chapter 2151, The Omnipotent Tang Renjie. Main Temple. Hong Tu frowned, looking somewhat miserable. Inside the hall, the gods were also confused. Logically speaking, whomever the sovereigns wanted to die in the 100,000 planes would have to die. He had clearly gone to look for Long Fei just now. Why did he come back before he died? Atop the sovereign's throne, Hong Tu held his head up, his eyes staring at a certain place, his heart asking himself, who exactly is it? Outer space powerhouse? Or a member of the Long Fei family? But these 100,000 planes are all under my control. Why didn't outer space powerhouse notice anything when I entered? Damn it. Hong Tu clenched his fists tightly. A thick power of main god burst out from his body. The entire main temple trembled. Hong Tu's eyes turned sinister as he said solemnly, Long Fei, this time, if you don't die, next time, you will definitely die. And then Hong Tu raised his gaze and swept his gaze across the entire audience, then looked at the bunch of trash like God of Law, and a trace of killing intent flashed past his eyes. The 100,000 planes were filled with thick smoke and miasma. A person who was born with the authority of the top 100,000 planes was actually reduced to such a state by someone who was born to be a trash. Where is the dignity of the main temple? Huff. Hong Tu forcefully suppressed the anger in his body and said, once the third entrance is opened, Long Fei will become the third overlord of the battleground. Then, we will start a war with him within the battleground. The gods were stunned. The meaning behind those words. Was he planning to not touch Long Fei now? Why? Could it be that even the sovereign could not touch Long Fei? Thinking of this, the gods were shocked yet again. But then, they rejected it. In the 100,000 planes, who could match up to sovereigns? No one. Long Fei could not do it either. Then, the gods stood up and said, as you command. One of the gods took a step forward and said, Lord God, before you returned, the evil god Palace sent someone over to deal with Long Fei. Now that you are back, this matter. Hong Tu did not wait for him to finish, and said, then let's ally with them. There were almost no considerations. All the gods in the hall were secretly shocked. In the past, when the sovereigns had not returned, they were a little worried that they would not be able to suppress Long Fei, so they agreed to evil god Palace's request. Isn't he overestimating Long Fei, Lord God? With our strength, we can easily take down Long Fei and the evil god Palace. Why must we ally with the evil god Palace? Hong Tu glanced at him and said, that's right, he wants to use an absolutely crushing posture to heavily crush Long Fei. All right. Stop being long-winded. All of you God of Law have been enjoying life for tens of thousands of years. Now, all of you must enter the battleground for me and become my generals. If Long Fei doesn't die, you all will die. Hong Tu shouted heavily. His words were laced with killing intent. All the gods immediately knelt on the ground and said in unison, as you command. Hong Tu looked into the distance and said sinisterly, I would like to see who can protect you after entering the battleground. Kid. Just you wait. In another world, in the outskirts of Universal Large World. Here. It was very close to the 100,000 plane that Long Fei was in. Close enough to arrive in less than a day. An old man and a young man stood in the void. The elder bowed like a servant. The young man looked in the direction of the 10,000 planes and indifferently said, seems like the Long residence has already sent people over. Young master. Should we send someone over? The old man slowly said. The man laughed and said, there's no rush, Hong Tu is the ruler of 100,000 planes, moreover, with a few million years of time, his current cultivation should be able to resist for a while, let's take a look first. The old man immediately replied, yes. The man muttered, Dragon Manor, Mu Clan, you are just struggling in death. Do you think that you can escape death just by placing the hope seed in a plane that the universal large world cannot control? Humph. This ancient inheritance, don't even think about escaping my control. Only us, the gods' tribe, have the right to control and perfect the universal large world. All of the legacies must be under the control of our gods' tribe. You want to take the ancient inheritance away from the ancient world? You're stealing something from our Tian clan. Play with fire and set yourself on fire. Humph. The young man coldly snorted, turned around, and disappeared. The old servant glanced at the 100,000 planes, then disappeared as well in the next second. God's Mountain. Long Fei was stupefied. He still hadn't figured out why the god had suddenly left, and why he looked so bedraggled. After thinking for a long time, Long Fei still could not come up with an answer. He was usually too lazy to think about things that he could not understand. There were more important things for him to do now. Boss Long, I protected Jojo very well. You promised me just now, right? Can I be your little brother now? Tang Renjie was like a dogskin paste, sticking to Long Fei without letting go. Long Fei was helpless against him. Looking at the husky on his shoulder that couldn't accept the soil and water, Long Fei didn't know whether to laugh or cry, and said, "Do you really want to be my little brother that much?" "Actually, I want to be your boss more," Tang Renjie muttered, as he looked at Long Fei. "I want to, even in my dreams." Long Fei said, "What's so good about being my little brother?" Tang Renjie said, "The benefits are too many. Domineering, mighty, awesome. However," he thought to himself, "this is my mission." Jojo said, "Since you can't chase him away, just accept him." As soon as Jojo finished speaking, Tang Renjie immediately said, "Thank you, sister-in-law." Long Fei shook his head and laughed. He could be considered to have acquiesced. He doesn't understand this Tang Renjie, but the first thing he felt when he saw Long Fei was that this person was harmless. Under normal circumstances, it would not be too bad to have a mount like the husky. Moreover, the feeling Tang Renjie gave Long Fei was a little mysterious. The three once more entered the secret room and looked at the soul cage. Huff! Long Fei heaved a sigh of relief. Tang Renjie immediately took a step forward and released his energy, breaking the barrier on the spirit cage immediately. Then, he stood aside silently. The soul cage shattered. The souls inside began to fly out one by one, filling the entire chamber. A few souls surrounded Long Fei's left and right. Within these souls, Long Fei could feel a sense of familiarity. But Long Fei didn't know how to reconstruct a body, so he couldn't help but ask, "Do you know how to reconstruct a body?" Tang Renjie replied, "Yes." Long Fei was startled, and thought to himself, "Damn, is there anything I can't do?" Tang Renjie said slightly, "Boss, do you want to reconstruct all of these spirits with your own body, or should we choose a few more souls? How about, should I reconstruct all of these souls?" Long Fei looked at him in shock. There were hundreds of millions of souls here. Chapter 2152, Dragon Ancestor and the Other's Choices. Chapter 2152, Dragon Ancestor and the Other's Choices so fierce? Looking at Long Fei's shocked expression, Tang Renjie said in embarrassment, "Actually, I was just joking too. I don't know how to remake my physical body. There isn't such a power in this world. Unless the soul itself is extremely powerful and capable of continuous training, there are very few such souls. You want to revive them? That's impossible. They have all been dead for a very long time. It's impossible for them to be revived using any sort of great fleshly body reconstruction technique. The best way is not waiting for him to finish." Long Fei pointed to Jojo and said, "She was resurrected using the art of flesh remodeling." Tang Renjie was startled, and looked at Jojo with a serious gaze. His eyes flashed with a hint of shock, and he muttered, "Body of the Phoenix?" There was almost nothing in the 100,000 planes that could shock him. It was also from the beginning, other than Long Fei, he did not pay any other attention to Jojo. Now that he realized that Jojo's physique was different from others, he was secretly shocked in his heart. Jojo followed, "That's right, I was resurrected by Zhong Wushuang using a special method." Tang Renjie said, "Your physique is a little special, you have the body of a phoenix and the power of rebirth, which is why you are able to revive, but not these souls. The best way is to lure them into the infernal realm and reincarnate them. Of course, if their souls can cultivate on their own, then perhaps in the infernal realm, they will be able to cultivate on their own. That will depend on their own luck." Indeed. So what if they were dead? Their souls were already dead when the destiny god pulled them out. Long Fei was also clear about this in his heart. When he saw Jojo, he thought that all of his souls could be reconstructed with a body. It was only because Jojo possessed the power of rebirth that he was able to reconstruct his body. Tang Renjie thought for a moment, then continued, "Every plane has the laws of every plane, of course, not every law is perfect, and there are loopholes to look for." Long Fei's gaze tensed up, and said, "Speak to me." Tang Renjie grinned and said, "The law of death in this 100,000 planes also has its loopholes, for example, the 9 reborn spiritual flowers. It is also known as the flower of resurrection. It is a loophole in the law of death. If I can find it, maybe I can save one or two of them. 9 reborn spiritual flowers. Long Fei was not unfamiliar with this name. However, Li Yuanba had told him before that this flower could be said to be a rare treasure, something that was basically impossible to find. Long Fei looked at Tang Renjie and said, "Do you know where I can get this flower?" Tang Renjie shrugged his shoulders and shook his head. "I don't know, but this flower is reputed as a loophole in the law of death. How can ordinary people find it? Perhaps the people of the infernal realm will know." Long Fei's gaze tensed up. People of the infernal realm. I'm afraid the 8 King Kong knows better. Or his father. Calming his mind, Long Fei released the soul controlling and said, "You are free, you can choose to enter reincarnation. No one will be able to control you, and no one will be able to absorb energy from your soul." All of a sudden, over 100 million souls rushed out, incomparably excited. They were all talking. Thank you, my lord. Thank you." Long Fei's soul controlling could hear their voices. Many of these souls have been imprisoned by the destiny god for tens of thousands of years. After hundreds of thousands of years, they never thought they would be able to return to the cycle of reincarnation. They would always remember Long Fei's kindness. And also carried this kindness into the cycle of reincarnation, where they branded Long Fei onto their souls. To Long Fei, it was a piece of great karmic virtue. His soul would also evolve and transform. Next, Long Fei said again, "I am Long Fei, a person from the Long family, Liu Luoshi, Qian Qian, Nangong Yang. Dragon ancestor, both of your souls have come to my side. I will find a way to reconstruct your bodies." And then, one soul after another appeared in front of Long Fei. "Ha ha ha. Boss, you've become so strong now," Green Dragon ancestor said while laughing. Black Dragon ancestor's face was also full of excitement as he said, "Boss, you're so awesome and domineering." The 8 golden dragons also said, "Boss, you are mighty." And then, Green Dragon ancestor smiled faintly, "Boss, our mission is over. We no longer have the qualifications to stay by your side." Black Dragon ancestor revealed a faint smile, "Boss, becoming your little brother is the glory of our life. Ha ha ha. Yes. This is something worth showing off all my life." Long Fei's mind tightened, and said, "What do you want to do? Don't do anything foolish. I will definitely find a way to reconstruct your physical bodies." Green Dragon ancestor said, "Boss, it's time for us to leave. We entered the divinity from the outer realm, and brought the thing that the dragon mana was protecting here with us. At that time, we didn't know about our mission, nor did we know who we were protecting, and now we know. Boss, we are proud of you." His soul moved. Enter the entrance to the infernal realm. The 14th dragon ancestor had helped him too much. They were exactly like Long Fei's brothers. However, they didn't want to be a burden to Long Fei and directly chose to enter hell. The Azure Dragon was the leader. Shouted non-stop, stand still, I have a way to revive you. Stop right there." Green Dragon ancestor turned his head to look at Long Fei, and laughed, "Boss, separation means reunion. At that time, we will definitely become stronger. Boss, goodbye." Buzz, Green Dragon ancestor entered the cycle of hell. Dragon ancestors followed one after another. However, this was just the beginning. Among the Long family Long Fei's grandfather, the Crazy Long, was the same as well. With a benevolent smile, he was happier than anyone else seeing that Long Fei had achieved what he had achieved today. No one wanted to become a burden to Long Fei. Samsara was the best choice. Long Fei said, No, can you stop it?" Xiao Bai's soul slightly moved, and said, "Boss, I'll still be your mount in my next life, hey. But don't worry, I'll definitely hold back and use my strength. I won't hold back a fart, hey." Icefire said, "Boss, in my next life, I will also follow by your side. It's because you're too eye-catching, ha ha ha. Beam and beast. All kinds of war beasts." They all chose to enter the cycle of reincarnation in the infernal realm. Moreover, Liu Luoshi and the others were also the same. They were all Long Fei's women. They understood even more clearly that reviving would only be a burden to Long Fei, and they did not want to be a burden. Long Fei's tears even gushed out. He felt an indescribable pain in his heart. It was painful, very painful. As he watched the souls enter the cycle of reincarnation, he realized that they were once his family and brothers. It was only because he wasn't strong enough that they became like this due to his inability to protect them. Long Fei clenched both of his fists tightly. Chapter 2153, I'll protect him with my life in the next life. Chapter 2153, I'll protect him with my life in the next life. Pain. It was very painful. Long Fei's heart felt as if it was pierced by 10,000 swords. God's martial continent. Chaos realm. Other than the 8 King Kong and Jojo, everything else was gone. This kind of feeling made Long Fei feel as if he had something stuck in his throat, and it was extremely uncomfortable. It's all my fault. It's all because I'm not strong enough. It's all because of me. Long Fei looked at the surrounding souls that had dispersed, his tears uncontrollably surging out as his entire person also crouched down. Even though there was no sound of crying. However, in Long Fei's heart, there was a heart-wrenching roar. He attributed all this to him because he wasn't strong enough to let them die. Now, he didn't even give them a chance to save him. How much pain did Long Fei's heart hurt? Even though Jojo didn't know what was happening, she could guess in her heart when she saw the souls around her become less and less. She crouched down to protect Long Fei and also began to sob softly. Young master, don't be like this, don't be like this. Tang Renjie was also somewhat impressed. However, he and Long Fei had different thoughts. People who become big don't care about small matters. Furthermore, there must be no shackles. Otherwise, if you were weak everywhere, how would you be able to reach the peak of power in the outside world? Tang Renjie said slightly, everyone has their own calamity, maybe this is their calamity. Their choice is to make you stronger. Become stronger, become stronger, become stronger. Long Fei kept repeating these 4 words, kept repeating them. After half an hour, Long Fei's eyes darkened. I want to become stronger, stronger, and stronger. So many protagonists in novels could break through everything and enter various domains to search for and save their loved ones. Why can't I? In this world, I am also the protagonist of this novel. I can change fate, I can control everything. I want to become the heavens, I want to become the hegemon of all things. Long Fei almost went crazy. Jojo and Tang Renjie were a little confused. They simply could not understand what Long Fei was saying. What main character of the novel? Long Fei is also the main character of this novel. It was something they could not understand at all. He could do the same thing to countless novels about saving his family. When you become an omnipotent ruler, you will be omnipotent. The dead will be resurrected, the scorching sun will turn into the moon, the daytime into night, and the ants into gods. There was nothing he couldn't do. Only in this way would one be able to enter the realm of invincibility. Suddenly, Long Fei stood up, withdrew her tears, and said indifferently, return to Devil Island. In the infernal realm. 14 dragons returned to their real face form. However, it was just a spirit body. They all stood in front of Long Zhanting with respect. Long Zhanting said indifferently, it's been hard on you guys. Green Dragon Ancestor said, thank you, Lord Dragon, for giving us this chance. To be able to fight alongside young Lord is our utmost honor. Long Zhanting waved his hand and said, I am not some dragon lord, don't call me that in the future. And then, Long Zhanting then said, I have already prepared your gate of rebirth, it will lead to universal world. I'll give you guys 100 years to cultivate. By then, Long Fei would also be in universal world. Black Dragon Ancestor immediately laughed excitedly. Ha ha ha. Can we fight alongside our boss again? This is too exciting. Ha ha ha. Even if you want me to die 10 more times, I'm still willing. 14th Dragon Ancestor was excited. Their mission was over, but there was a new mission awaiting him. This was the hell that Long Zhanting controlled. No matter what happened in the 100,000 planes, Long Zhanting had every means at his disposal to help Long Fei. It was also because Long Fei was reluctant to part with these dragon ancestors. That was why Long Zhanting made this arrangement. He is the king of hell, he can do anything for Long Fei. At the same time, he was also Long Fei's father. 14th dragon ancestor left. Long Zhanting came to the side of the Crazy Long and respectfully said, "Father." Crazy Long waved his hand and said, "I don't dare to call you that." Long Zhanting said, "You are my father. You were, and will be. The one who is at fault is me. I shouldn't have kept it a secret for so long. Our Long family is a branch of the dragon race, and also a branch of the dragon palace." Sigh. Crazy Long let out a long sigh. It's been hard on that child. Crazy Long looked up at Long Zhanting and said, "Speak, what do you want us to do?" Long Zhanting said, "Same as them, enter the universal world." Crazy Long nodded his head and said, "As long as I can help Long Fei, that child, I am willing to do anything, even if it means returning to the Dragon Manor." They had been abandoned. However, for Long Fei, he did not care about all this. Long Zhanting said, "Thank you, father." One by one, the disciples of the Long family also entered the reincarnation passage that led to the universal world. They would also have to go through 100 years and retain memories. They, the universal world, were waiting for Long Fei's return. Xiao Bai and Bing Hue were also with them. Finally, Long Zhanting came to Liu Luoshi, Qianqian, Xiao Tiantian and the others, and said calmly, "You are all Long Fei's women, thank you for bringing him joy. Are you willing to wait for him at Universal World? If you don't want to, I will revive you." Liu Luoshi said, "I am." Once he revived, they would still become Long Fei's burdens. Moreover, who is Long Zhanting? Their future father-in-law. "We are willing." Long Zhanting slightly nodded. "I know that you all love Long Fei dearly, but I have something I need to tell you in advance. Long Fei has a wife. He probably won't marry you, because his wife wouldn't allow it." The girls were slightly taken aback. Liu Luoshi asked softly, "Is she the wife of the universal world?" Long Zhanting nodded and said, "Yes, she is the daughter of the one who possesses unparalleled wisdom and talent in the universal large world, and is also from an ancient clan, a powerful overlord in the outside world. Let me remind you guys, you won't get a placing by Long Fei's side. For a woman, names are important. No matter if it was the first wife, second wife, third wife, or youngest wife, at least they had the word wife attached to them. However, having no status meant that he was nothing. Not even a lover. Liu Luoshi asked, "Do you know anything about it, Long Fei?" Long Zhanting shook his head, "I don't know." "Oh." Liu Luoshi softly replied, and said with a light voice, "Then, can you send me to the harshest plane within the universal large world?" Long Zhanting was startled, and asked, "Why?" Liu Luoshi said firmly, "I want to become strong, I want to become the overlord of universal world, and it is Long Fei who is protecting me in this life. In the next life, I am going to use my life to protect him." "Me too. Me too, thank you for your support." Chapter 2154, Slicing the Source Spirit Demon. Chapter 2154, Slicing the Source Spirit Demon. Long Fei did not know about what had happened in Hell. He was even more unaware that he had a fiancé in the universal large world. Devil Island. 5 days later, Long Fei brought Jojo and Tang Renjie back to the Devil Island. In just a few short years, the Devil Island had changed greatly. It was also because they had broken through the dome that the cultivation spirit energy here was the same as everywhere else in the ancient god battlefield. "Boss, you're finally back." "Boss. Ha ha ha. Boss, you're back." Everyone was excited. Bawang Hua immediately threw himself into Long Fei's embrace. Yang Nantian hugged his sword and laughed. Bai Lian was also smiling. Lan Ya, the giant war group. Many people looked at Long Fei, and smiles hung on their faces. Long Fei's return caused them to be incomparably excited. These people were all Long Fei's brothers in the Devil Island. It was also a force that he had built up. Other than them, there were also demons from the Deep Abyss Mountain. The Night Royal family of the Night King Valley were all gathered here. They were waiting for Long Fei's return, waiting for him to lead them into the battleground. Long Fei looked at each and every familiar face, and couldn't help but clench his fists inside. These are my brothers that have fought with me before. The scene in the God's Mountain appeared in his mind, and all those souls chose to enter the cycle of hell. Long Fei's heart secretly ached. Then, his heart sank as he thought to himself, I will definitely not let anything happen to them. I will definitely lead them to their peak. At this moment, Jojo asked, Young Master, where are Li Yuanba and the rest? Huh? Long Fei regained his composure, only then did he remember what Jojo had said. Looking around, he did not see any signs of 8 King Kong and felt that it was strange, so he asked, where are Li Yuanba and the rest? Gold Robe Master's expression darkened slightly. The expressions of everyone present changed. He hadn't noticed it previously, but upon closer inspection, he realized that everyone was injured, and their faces appeared fatigued. What happened? Long Fei immediately asked. Everyone lowered their heads in silence. Long Fei shouted, Speak. Yang Nantian said slightly, After you left the Devil Island, there was no peace at all for the Devil Island. We tried to block it time and time again, but later on, the main temple directly sent the powerhouse over. Our Devil Island suffered heavy losses, but we could barely hold on. But this time, Yang Nantian frowned. His talent in the path of the sword was extremely strong, and he was never willing to fall behind. A belligerent. However, there was a trace of helplessness in his eyes. This was not fear, but a feeling that the heavens and the earth could not detect. Zhong Sanqian continued to speak, I don't know where these magic tribe came from, they were also attracted to this place by those fellows from main temple. In the short span of a month, we've suffered great losses, countless casualties. If it wasn't for 8 King Kong coming in time, I'm afraid you won't see us at all. Zhong Sanqian said indifferently, his fists clenched inside his sleeves. He was very unwilling. Long Fei left. He wanted to do everything he could to make the Devil Island stronger, but yet, this was the case. He somewhat hated himself for not doing well. He felt that he had let Long Fei down. Long Fei's heart tensed up, Soul Demon Clan. For the entire 100,000 planes to have such a powerful strength, it must be the Soul Demon Clan that he released a while ago. Thinking about Soul Demon Clan, Long Fei's heart also started to blaze. F***CK. Do you want to touch your father's men? You still want to take my land? Fuck you. Then. Long Fei moved, his mind spreading to cover the entire Devil Island. At this moment, on the battlefield, the Holy Spirit's body jolted and he became excited. Ha ha ha. King Kong, the boss is here. Li Yuanba was surprised, and laughed simple-mindedly. Aoya's expression was filled with longing as she looked into the distance. Ha ha ha. I'm finally going to see boss. Fat Men Chen was like a ball of meat, rolling on the ground and crushing a Soul Demon Clan into a pulp. Lin Yusheng. Ahat. Each and every Black Knife uncle was incomparably excited. Not just 8 King Kong. The expression of the great demon king of the Soul Demon Clan turned cold, as he revealed an excited expression. Ha ha ha, main temple is right, there really is a super powerhouse in Devil Island. Kids. Kill. Turn this Devil Island into hell. Boom. As soon as he finished, the great Devil King Source Spirit waved a long soul-slaying blade, the blade body ignited with purple flames, fiercely waving it, causing the purple flames to scatter and a large wave of Soul Demon Clan to appear out of nowhere, like a scatter seeds which become solidars. Soul Demon Clan that covered the ground rushed forward. An incomparable surge of power. Li Yuanba gently shook his head, crack crack crack. The joints exploded. With a move of his right hand, he summoned the Dark Giant Spirit Axe. With a wave of his battle axe, he pointed at the great demon god Soul and roared, Your time of death has come. Then, the sarcophagus on Li Yuanba's back shook. Boom. As the god coffin flew out, Li Yuanba also crazily rushed out. Fat Men Chen laughed wildly all the way, his entire being was like a 250-year-old madman. He did not attack, but his defense, however, seemed to be able to crush everything. The figure of the Arhat Devil Buddha appeared, his entire body covered in blood. Black Knife Uncle's great black knife slashed horizontally with its blade, and the dark blade chi shot out like lightning. The power of the 8 King Kong erupted crazily. The great devil of soul sneered and said, "Just the 8 of you? Not enough. Not enough. My soul demon clan is a foreign magic tribe. All of you, go and die." As soon as he finished, the 8 generals beside great devil of soul all flew out at the same time. Demonic flames soared to the sky. In the sky, it was like rolling black clouds rolling over towards them. 8 King Kong attacked head-on. For a moment, it was as if the sky had split open, and the two powers clashed against each other, creating a long fissure. Great Devil of Soul laughed strangely, "Ha ha ha. All must die. Even if you want to die, you have to die first." A voice sounded. The void moved. A figure broke through the skies, the power of 129 law energies frantically gushing out, forming a sword of law. A furious slash. Great Devil of Soul looked at Long Fei, and his eyes were slightly shocked. "It's you, kid? I didn't expect you to still be alive. Ha ha ha. It seems that the heavens have been pretty good to me, and you really want to leave your body to me. Then I'll accept it." While they were talking, the great demon god's soul-slaying blade moved, blocking horizontally, and streams of soul demon clan's devil flames all over his body surged towards Long Fei. "Give me your fleshly body. Ha ha ha. Your body is mine." Chapter 2155 Wild God Energy. Chapter 2155 Wild God Energy. The devil fire rushed towards Long Fei's body like a string of ghosts. Long Fei didn't hesitate at all. His blood essence stirred. Ming clan mark. Power, open, buzz. As the blood essence fell, the Ming clan imprint appeared on Long Fei's left arm, and a surge of energy also erupted violently from his left arm. It blocked all of the demonic flames. Great Devil of Soul's eyes darkened. Ming clan's imprint. This, what is this power? Even he didn't know about the Ming clan. Ming clan was one of the oldest families in the universal large world. He was even older than the dragon tribe and was the overlord of billions of years ago. Now whither? No one even knew about the existence of the Ming clan. Although the great Devil of Soul was also an alien, he did not know about the matters of the Ming clan. However, he could feel the strong power exploding out of the Ming clan imprint. His eyes darkened. He roared out, "The 100,000 plane is useless no matter how strong you are. All of you have to die for me." The power of the demonic flame moved again. The soul-slaying saber in his hand soared into the sky and slashed downwards. Black flames burned. It was incomparably sharp. The corner of Long Fei's mouth curled up as he said, "Too ignorant." Long Fei's left hand moved, forming a hand blade, and easily slashed down. The blade of Main God and the Dong Huang clock were both gone. Long Fei did not have any weapon on hand right now, but looking at the gigantic soul-slaying saber in Great Devil of Soul's hands, Long Fei became interested. He exploded forth with his strength. "Dark blade. Shua. Explode for me." With a chop of his hand, the power of the Ming clan seal erupted and directly destroyed the devil flames released by the Great Devil of Soul. Great Devil of Soul's face changed drastically. He watched as the blade descended. He could not find a way to resist and shouted, "Impossible, impossible, absolutely impossible. No one can destroy my power, even the God of Law of your world." He did not even put the God of Law in his eyes. But now, his strength was crushed, shattered, and then completely disappeared one after another. This was absolute suppression. The dark slash got closer and closer. Great Devil of Soul's body was trembling. "Poochie, spare my life. I was wrong. Please spare my life. I won't dare to do it again. I don't dare." Kneeling and begging for mercy. "Spare you." Long Fei's eyes were filled with anger, and he said, "Then why didn't you forgive those commoners in Devil Island back then? Why? Why did the people of the main temple ask you to come here? And why are you here? Why? Why did they tell you to eat shit? Why don't you guys eat shit? Injured my people, stole my territory, and now you want me to spare you? Do you think that's possible?" Great Devil of Soul continued, "Please spare my life, the soul-slaying saber is yours." This soul-slaying blade is a foreign war device and is definitely the strongest ice blade in this world. Not waiting for him to finish, Long Fei bellowed, "Just one soul-slaying blade is enough for me to spare you." Great Devil of Soul immediately said, I also have a source spirit orb. This is the holy object of our soul world. It can collect all of Magic Tribe's soul for cultivation. He then handed over a fist-sized bead. However, this bead. Why does Long Fei look so familiar, like Dragon Ball within the 7 Dragon Pearl Soul Orb? Is it really the Source Spirit Orb? Long Fei asked this. This question was not directed at the Great Devil of Soul, but rather to himself. It's exactly the same. Great Devil of Soul nodded his head like a chick pecking rice. It's precisely this soul pearl, a sacred object of the soul realm. It can absorb all souls and convert the energy within the soul into the energy that you need. I didn't lie to you. It was also because of this primordial soul orb that I was expelled from this place, and was sent to this place by the seal. I really didn't lie to you. Long Fei took the 2 items and asked, "Is there anything else?" Great Devil of Soul had an innocent look as he said, "No, there's really nothing else. My source spirit can't bring more, so it's really gone." "Oh. Then how do I know if you're lying to me?" Long Fei asked. Great Devil of Soul said, "Heaven and earth can witness this. I swear to God, I don't have anything else on me." Long Fei laughed. "I have a way to verify this. Do you want to test it?" Great Devil of Soul immediately said, "I am willing." While they were talking, Long Fei's eyes turned sinister as he bellowed, "Kill!" The dark blade descended. Great Devil of Soul roared in anger, and said, You didn't keep your promise. You. Ah! His source spirit shattered. The system beep also started to sound out. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Great Devil of Soul for obtaining 100 million experience, 100 million holy power value, and 1 metamorphic energy value. It was just a prompt. Nothing else came out. Long Fei grinned and said, "As expected, there's nothing else." "You really didn't lie to me." Long Fei looked at Great Devil of Soul's corpse and laughed. "Kill my people and steal my territory, how can you not die? How could my blood essence be wasted? Once the blood essence is used, of course, it has to be used to kill people." At this moment, the soul orb in Long Fei's hand moved, and floated into the air, directly absorbing the Great Devil of Soul's soul into it. A system notification rang out. Ding! Congratulations to player Long Fei for collecting Berserk God's Energy, 100 points. Heh! Wild God Energy? What do you mean? Long Fei's mind trembled. He immediately opened the system and checked. Isn't the Sky Soul Pearl only able to absorb souls and then convert them into cultivation energy? Why did it become a Raging God's Energy again? He opened the system and carefully studied it. Long Fei didn't even manage to research a fart. He had no idea what was going on with regards to these 100 points of Raging God's power. He couldn't trigger them even if he wanted to. It was unknown whether it was because his level was not high enough or his energy values was too low. Mad God's Energy. Could it be that I can summon a divine dragon after gathering all the energy in the bead? Long Fei thought in delight, summoning a divine dragon. Then I can revive them all. Ha ha ha. Long Fei was excited. Of course. He had no idea what the use of Mad God's Energy was. With the death of Great Devil of Soul, he fled in defeat. 8 King Kong chased for a while before being called down by Long Fei. Don't chase anymore. The 8 King Kong descended. Long Fei looked at the 8 of them and was extremely excited in his heart. They had finally reunited. The 8 King Kong brought out by God's martial continent, reunited once again. Long Fei couldn't say that feeling. And then, Long Fei said, "Go back, we need to prepare, we are going to make these 100,000 planes tremble." Long Fei said fiercely, "Fight with all your might." It was also the final battle. Chapter 2156, Your Extradition Person. Chapter 2156, Your Extradition Person. Devil Island Meeting Room. 8 King Kong stood beside Long Fei. In the hall, Night King Bai Chi, the commander of the demons in the deep abyss mountain. Gold Robe Master, Zhong Sanqian, Yang Nantian, Ba Wang Hua. And there was also Tang Renjie, who was standing at the door. At this moment, on his shoulders, he was still carrying the husky. Everyone discussed matters of the battleground. I say, there's no need to wait. Let's start the fight. What's there to be afraid of? The boss already has the power of 129 laws in his grasp. Who's his match? Exactly. That's right, let's do it. But we don't know what's going on inside. Besides, who among us has ever entered the battleground? What's the pattern inside? I think it's best to consider things from a long-term perspective. When they still have yet to react, they quickly took down the entire group. In a single breath, they overthrew the main temple, and also brought them to an island, where they established a firmament and let them have a taste of being imprisoned. All of them hated the main temple very much. Be it the people of the Devil Island or the demons of the Deep Abyss Mountain. They all wanted to do it. This was also because of Long Fei's style. Don't submit, just do it. Zhong Sanqian looked at Long Fei and said, Commander, what do you think? Long Fei kept stopping and did not comment. Once Zhong Sanqian's voice fell, the hall quietened down. Even Tang Renjie had turned his head to look at Long Fei, who was seated on the highest seat. Long Fei said indifferently, You guys hate Main Temple? The Gold Robe Master was the first to speak. Of course I hate him. If it wasn't for Main Temple's unfair treatment, all of us would have been exiled because of him. The Elder Lai who also said, If it wasn't for the people of Main Temple selling them off, why would we demi-humans wait in that kind of cold weather for tens of thousands of years? I must take revenge for this resentment. You guys hate me. Are there others who hate those 100,000 planes as well? Long Fei asked. Yang Nantian said, What you mean is, for all of the powerhouses of the 100,000 realms to join our side. No. My idea is to have the 100,000 people from the realm of Main Temple join our camp. Long Fei slowly said, Our power within the battleground is not even comparable to that of the evil god Palace S, let alone the Main Temple S of over 100 of them. If we want to win in the battleground, our strength alone is far from enough. Indeed. Long Fei had entered the battleground before, so he was very clear about the situation inside. Everyone is restricted. Long Fei was the same. However, he only roughly knew about the situation in battleground. Main Temple had controlled the battleground for tens of thousands of years, so they had a better understanding of the rules inside. Moreover, Main Temple and Evil God Palace alliance. Then Long Fei's third party would probably have no chance at all. If the battleground lost, it would be difficult to overthrow the Main Temple. In the hall, everyone quieted down. But every single plane of the 100,000 realms is restricted, and the number of powerhouse that can enter the primordial divine war are extremely few. Even if they hate us, I'm afraid they wouldn't be willing to join our side. Yeah. Who is willing to join the Evil God Palace alliance to send us to our deaths? Long Fei said indifferently, Indeed, it is very difficult to enter the primordial god battle dimension, but there is a plane of the same grade as the primordial god battle dimension. Divinity. The divinity is the most ancient plane of the 100,000 worlds. It is the gathering place of the powerhouse of the 100,000 worlds. If you can get the powerhouse inside there to come with us. Long Fei laughed faintly. Divinity. The breeding ground of the powerhouses in the 100,000 planes. Most of the powerhouse in the ancient god battle came from the divinity. Moreover, the gods in the Main Temple were the same, and those who hated them were also in the divinity. Other than that, Long Fei's clone, the fiend god body had successfully transcended the tribulation. He was currently cultivating in the divinity. Moreover, his cultivation speed was astonishing. Long Fei's Shu Mi rings had the legacies of the Ming clan. He wanted to pass them down to his clones so that he could control the power of the Ming clan. If he managed to comprehend anything from them, Long Fei would think of a way to give the Ming clan's imprints to his clones, and let him search for the ancient inheritance. Nether. I'll do it. Gold Robe Master said slightly, My family is in the divinity. War has a lot of things to prepare. Pills, weapons, equipment, not a single one can be missing. Either not. If we're going to fight, then we have to show them our strength. Long Fei said in a heavy voice. He did not choose to enter the battleground at the first moment. Main Temple and Evil God Palace had been in battleground for thousands of years. They didn't need to prepare anything, but Long Fei needed it. He wanted to complete all the missions that the dragon had left him. He had to prepare everything. Because the prophecy of disaster was still there. Long Fei didn't know when he would appear, and the only thing he could do was to prepare everything. The crowd dispersed. Only the 8 King Kong remained in the hall. Long Fei said, "I have a special mission for all of you." Li Yuanba said, "Boss, go ahead." Long Fei said, "Find the location of the main temple. When I enter the battleground, all of you attack the main temple." The 8 people were slightly startled. Long Fei continued, "No matter the cost, you must break through the main temple. Once the battleground goes to war, Hong 2, all of the evil gods' concentration will be on me. At that time, there shouldn't be anyone who can stop you from ambushing the main temple." Li Yuanba said, "Boss, Hong 2 and the evil god are in the battleground. You are in even more danger. We should be by your side. Why attack a main temple without any defenses?" Indeed. If the main temple plain did not have any defense, why did it attack? The battlefield should be in battleground. Long Fei said, "All gods have a divine root. My deity root is in the Devil Island. Because the millions of lives here in the Devil Island are willing to help me become a god, those god of law and even God's deity root are in the main temple. As long as we can break through the main temple, their spirit root will be affected, and their power will be greatly reduced. This matter will be absolutely safe, so I will allow the 8 of you to come with us." The 8 King Kong was one body. Even though Long Fei didn't know what Ancient World's 8 heaven pillar meant, but the combined power of the 8 of them was extremely strong. Everyone stopped talking. They would definitely do what Long Fei told them to do. Long Fei said, "Everything, be careful." The 8 of them nodded their heads heavily and said, "Boss, be careful too." And then the 8 of them left. Tang Renjie was squatting at the door, shaking his head as he watched 8 King Kong leave. Long Fei asked, "What are you laughing about?" Tang Renjie stood up, looked at Long Fei, and said, "Boss Long, no matter what you do, no matter how much effort you put in, that great calamity is still there. And this calamity will affect everyone around you. If you can withstand it, they will live. If you can't withstand it, they will die." Long Fei looked at Tang Renjie seriously and asked, "Just who are you?" Tang Renjie laughed and said, "Your extradition person. Thank you for your support." Chapter 2157, Completing the Dragon Coffin Mission. Chapter 2157, Completing the Dragon Coffin Mission. Extradition person? What do you mean? Long Fei asked. Tang Renjie did not say anything, he only laughed, and then walked far away while carrying the husky that could not tolerate the soil and water, and a voice came from far away, "You will understand in the future." It slowly disappeared. Weird. Long Fei muttered, and did not think too much about what Tang Renjie had said. His current focus should be on the battleground. Before entering the battleground, he had to prepare everything. Long Fei entered the training room. The idea moved and entered the cultivation world of the dragon coffin. Looking at the training world that was identical to its original form, it was just that. Without the colossal dragon, Long Fei looked at the distant sky and muttered, "I will definitely complete all of your missions. I will. Then I choose the practice method of inscribing formations. Boom. Boom. Ding. Inscription failed. Boom." Long Fei's idea was blown out. Long Fei didn't even bat an eye towards death right now, he only said lightly, again, "Ding. Fail. Continue. Ding. Fail." A crazy failure. Long Fei would not stop at all whenever he failed, and he chose to continue on. Although the colossal dragon was no longer here, he had given him everything he could teach. What Long Fei needed to do now was to train hard. These training methods were useless to him, but this was the dragon's mission, and he had to complete it. Again. Continue. Just a bit more. I don't believe it. In the secret room, Long Fei's angry roars kept on ringing. Just like how he fought, if he didn't submit, he would do it. In another place. All of you are willing to submit to me. Evil God Palace. Soul Demon Clan's generals kneeled in front of the evil god. They wanted to take revenge on the death of their great devil of soul, but their powers were not a match for Long Fei. However, they knew very well who wanted to take Long Fei's life in this world. All of the Source Spirit Demon generals said solemnly, "We are willing. As long as we can kill Long Fei, we are willing to pay any price." Of course. Their goal wasn't just to kill Long Fei, but more importantly, to take back the Yun Soul Realm's sacred artifact, the Soul Bead. They did not mention this matter. Your big brother was killed by Long Fei. From today onwards, I am your big brother. Follow me into the battleground. I swear to you, I will definitely take Long Fei's head away. Ha ha ha. The evil god laughed maniacally. These Source Spirit Demon Generals' cultivations were not weaker than God of Law. With the addition of these demon generals, the power of his evil god palace became even stronger. At that time, once Long Fei died, he would be at war with Sovereign Hong too. With the addition of these demon generals, his power would greatly increase, and would definitely not be weaker than the main temple. Then, the evil god waved his right arm, and the entrance to the battleground appeared. Everyone entered the battleground. Reporting to Lord Evil God, "We have found the location of Long Fei's ancient entry." A warlord quickly reported. The eyes of the evil god trembled, and it said, "All right. Ha ha ha. Long Fei, you won't be able to escape this time. I told you a long time ago not to try and make a connection with the ancient entry. You just had to do it your way and follow me to overthrow the main temple. Now, you ungrateful dog, your time of death is almost up." The evil god hated Long Fei a lot in his heart. Long Fei had ruined his plans time and time again, and she had rejected his invitation. As the evil god, his heart was already filled with anger. "Someone, come. Send the news to main temple." The evil god smiled faintly. The many generals were puzzled, and asked, "Master, why are you telling main temple? If we take Long Fei down, our morale will rise greatly as well. We don't even need to notify main temple." The evil god said, "What do you know? Long Fei is no longer the Long Fei of the past. Furthermore, we are currently in an alliance with the main temple, so we should be able to get them to lend a hand. We should at least send out a few dozen of their God of Law-s, right? By then, once Long Fei dies, they will be killed. Two birds with one stone." Ha ha ha. The evil god's heart was very venomous. Even with the main temple alliance, his ambition was still to become a sovereign. One of the warlords quickly retreated. The evil god looked into the distance with his hands behind his back, and said indifferently, "Long Fei, I know you are a tactical expert, but we will definitely not give you the chance to actually enter the battlefield. The moment you enter the battleground, you will immediately die. Just you wait." Long Fei's previous performance was too stunning, and until now, he still had not studied it thoroughly, so how did Long Fei do it? But none of that mattered. As long as Long Fei entered the battleground, he would be like a turtle in a jar, unable to escape death. Now, what he needed to do now was to set up an inescapable net. Waiting for Long Fei to enter the stage. Ding. Inscription mission completed. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for completing the inscription mission. You have received the system's special reward Divine Weapon Formation. Ding. Congratulations player Long Fei for completing the talisman mission. You have received the system's special reward Sky Outlet Fire Talisman. Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for completing half a month. For an entire half a month, Long Fei had not left the secret room even half a step and had been madly cultivating the entire time. One mission after another was completed. Long Fei's understanding towards each and every supporting occupation was also sublimated, and was completely different from one another. Every time he completed a mission, the system will reward you. This was also what Long Fei relied on to become strong. However, these were not enough. The huge dragon once said that these were merely primary realms to universal large world. How strong was the universal large world? Long Fei didn't know. Giant dragon, I've completed all of your tasks. Long Fei silently said in his heart. There were no changes in the cultivation world of the dragon coffin. The colossal dragon's voice did not ring. Long Fei clenched both his fists tightly, and thought to himself, I will definitely kill the universal world. And then, he walked out of the training room. Outside the secret room, colorful fairy dragon stood outside the secret room and waited. Not only that, many clans of the divinity that had dragon clans in them had sent their strongest experts to assist in the battle. Dragon race, Han Ba clan, giant clan, warbeast race. In just half a month, Gold Robe Master and Rainbow Dragon God had used all their connections and brought over half of the divinity's experts to the Devil Island. At the same time, amongst these people, Long Fei saw another person. Magic body. Clone. Long Fei's eyes flashed, his heart becoming excited. They're here, ha ha ha. Everyone is here. At this moment, Jojo walked over and said softly, Young Master, Yuan Ba has already locked onto the location of the main temple's plane. We are only waiting for you to enter the battleground to start the battle. All right. Long Fei replied heavily. Jojo, have you prepared the things I asked you to prepare? Jojo nodded his head and said, everything is ready. Chapter 2158 Sovereigns. Chapter 2158 Sovereigns. The mission Long Fei gave Jojo before his closed-door cultivation. Gathering spirit grass. Collect ores. When Long Fei did something, he would either not do it or do it to the best of his abilities. He entered the battleground. Either not, or not. Then, he would have to use a crushing method to trample everything beneath his feet. With his current level of alchemy, his level of artifact forging had completely exceeded the limits of the 100,000 planes. He wanted to refine a divine pill. He had refined several main artifact, he wanted all of them to have main artifact, and every one of them had a divine pill that they could not kill, suppressing everything with their invincible posture. After some explanation, Long Fei entered the secret room again. In the secret room, the magic body's avatar was already waiting for him. Seeing his clone that had just underwent tribulation, this clone completely possessed his own consciousness. It could be said that this clone was not a clone at all, but Long Fei himself. His thoughts were exactly the same as his own. The only difference was, magic body does not have a system, he has super inherent skill. The God's Steelstone and God's Bone Taboo, coupled with Long Fei's super strong power, were born. Innate talent Invincible. Long Fei released Xiao Yang and immediately took off the Shu Mi rings, saying, take him and leave this place. Use your talent to break through the shackles of the 100,000 planes and enter the universal world. He did not want his clone to stay by his side. The existence of the doppelganger was the strongest secret other than the secret of the system. He wanted this clone. If he encountered any mishaps, he would still have a chance to use this clone to turn the situation around. Within the Shu Mi rings, there were treasures left behind by the Ming clan. As long as the clone could comprehend them and cultivate, it would not be difficult to break through the 100,000 planes. Taking the Shu Mi rings, the clone moved slightly and disappeared. Long Fei looked at Xiao Yang and smiled. You have also reached the level of a Do Di, right? The training of the heavenly flame should be able to destroy the heavens and the earth, right? In addition to your cultivation, aren't your alchemy level also very high? Come, let's compete today and see who's stronger. Then, Long Fei and Xiao Yang entered the state of oblivion in their alchemy. Although Xiao Yang's alchemy is very high, but this was Long Fei's world, and adding the cultivation from the dragon coffin, his alchemy had already surpassed 100,000 planes. The spirit pills they produced were all at the sovereign level. Every single one of them was an extremely powerful existence. It could be said that it was a pill that could instantly fill one's blood. A sovereign-level medicinal pill. The success rate was 100%, and in the end, Xiao Yang directly became Long Fei's assistant. When the two joined forces, the speed of their alchemy would be even faster. 3 days later, Long Fei was also crazily using the ores Jojo had collected to refine main artifact. With his super strong holy power value and his power of laws, he was just as fast. Main artifact, done. Boom. With a loud bang, the heavenly hammer heavily crashed down. A large saber was created. It was also at this time. Thunder roared in the sky above the Devil Island as the power of Main God surged crazily, converging and landing on the blade. Power of Main God. A main artifact has appeared. Lord God was clearly here. Why would? The expressions of the main temple's gods changed slightly. Hong Tu's face also darkened, his fists couldn't help but tightly clench, and his face was full of anger, refining main artifact. Not waiting for them to react. Rumble. Another loud sound, power of main God surged out again, gathering together, striking down powerfully. Another main artifact has appeared. Rumble. What's going on? It's only been a few minutes, how come another main artifact appeared? What exactly are Long Fei and the rest doing? My lord, are we just going to let him go like this? Main temple was moved. Even these God of Law didn't have any main artifact, but the main artifact on Long Fei's side appeared one after another, just as they were talking. Another main artifact was born. The God of Law were stupefied. Sovereign Hong Tu's face became even uglier. Every single main artifact that appeared didn't go past him, the sovereign. That was simply slapping his face. He slapped his left and his right, hard. This taste. It was hard. Fury surged within Hong Tu's heart as he clenched his teeth so hard that they crackled explosively. The aura from his entire body frantically spread out, and instantly, the many God of Law within the main temple were crushed to the point where they were forced to kneel on the ground without being able to move. Anger. At this moment, a voice echoed in Hong Tu's sea of consciousness. Hong Tu. Hong Tu's expression changed greatly as his anger instantly disappeared. No one from the 100,000 planes dared to call out his name, and this voice didn't come from the 100,000 planes, but from the other realms. Hong Tu's consciousness moved. Buzz. Entering into an empty space, Hong Tu bowed with incomparable respect, and said, Master. The master of a sovereign, vanity deity. He was also the outer space powerhouse, and was also a manager of the Tian family. That year. It was also because of his help that Hong Tu was able to become the sovereign king of 100,000 planes. The Long residents had been arranging everything that year, but the Tian family was also arranging everything. Long Fei, there must be a calamity. This calamity can't take his life, can't take his death. I want you to kill him, and bring his corpse over here. Use this black box. With a flip of his right hand, a black box appeared. The box was normal, but it was made by the vanity deity. Hong Tu received it with both hands, and said slightly, Master, there seems to be a outer space powerhouse protecting Long Fei by his side, I'm worried. The vanity deity said indifferently, You don't have to worry, no matter how strong that outer space powerhouse is, he won't be able to enter the battleground. It is a very special space. Long Fei's calamity is also not something that he can resolve. Mu Wana had spent tens of thousands of years and still was unable to resolve it. You think you can do it with just the disciples of the other king? He's too far off. Hong Tu nodded and said, Master, what exactly is Long Fei's calamity? Vanity deity's eyes froze. Hong Tu immediately lowered his head and did not even dare to breathe loudly, and said, Disciple has spoken too much. Vanity deity said coldly, Since it's a calamity, then it's the arrangement of the heavens. No one knows, you just have to do your best and do it yourself. Remember, we have to get hold of Long Fei's body, do you understand? Hong Tu really wanted to know the use of Long Fei's corpse. If they were dead, would they be able to blossom? However, he didn't dare to ask as he was very clear about his master's temper. Similarly, he knew his own identity. Rather than calling him a disciple, it would be more accurate to call him a chess piece. From the day he became his disciple, he was very clear on this. However, if the vanity deity could give him unparalleled power and the power to give him the 100,000 dimensions, why wouldn't he listen obediently? Hong Tu said, Disciple understands. The void moved. The void vanished. In another place, vanity deity stood behind a young man and said, Young master, everything has been completed. Now. He wanted to say something like a loyal old dog, standing behind the man. The man looked into the sky and laughed. "A little Long family dares to fight against us. You overestimate yourself." The big picture was in his hands. Chapter 2159, Battle. Chapter 2159, Battle Boom. It was another set of main artifacts. Long Fei had refined all the ores he could. He spent an entire half a month. A pile of sovereign-level divine pills. A bunch of main artifact weapons. Long Fei wanted to create a strong army. The moment they walked out of the secret chamber, everyone boiled over with excitement. Long Fei let out a loud roar. "Those who follow me will die. Follow me, eat and drink with me, anything you want is fine." Main artifact. 1 for each of us. Sovereign-level divine pellets, 3 for each person. Just don't be terrified, just do it for me. Long Fei was just like a madman. He took out everything he had left behind. It could be said that he didn't hold anything back, and he didn't need to hold anything back either. This was the final battle, and he would reach the heavens in one step if he succeeded. Failure. Then he would die. The dragon race roared, the dragon roared. All the living creatures on Devil Island roared. His voice was deafening. Long Fei looked at the crowd and said, "This will be the last battle. Anyone who follows me into the battleground will be a hero after today, and you will have everything. Even if you all die because of this, your families and your families will have everything. I, Long Fei, swear on it. If you don't do it, main temple will not rest." Boom. Once his voice fell, the power of the ancient code on Long Fei's body rocketed into the sky and exploded in the sky like an arrow piercing through the clouds. It was also at this time. The 8 King Kong that was silently waiting in the air trembled slightly. A ray of light flashed across Li Yuanbar's eyes, and he excitedly said, "It's starting." Long Fei flipped his right hand, and a door to an ancient entry opened. Rumble. On the Demon Plaza, the army had rushed through the main entrance of the ancient entry. Yang Nantian, Ba Wang Hua, Jojo, Bai Lian, Sweeping Monk. They took the lead and charged into the ancient entry. At this moment, inside the battleground, feeling the fluctuations in the air, the evil god's eyes shined with a brilliant light. The corners of his mouth slightly curled up. "Hihi, they're finally here." In the distance, God Hong too looked at the black box in his hand. He could not feel what was inside the black box, it was like a bottomless abyss. At the same time, he couldn't understand what exactly was hiding inside Long Fei's body. However, Hong too wanted it to be very simple. A hegemon of the 100,000 planes, an unshakable sovereign, being able to maintain the position of the local tyrant was enough, and after Long Fei got rid of him, he would not have stepped into the universal large world. That place was simply not a world where he could live. Hong too put away the black box and lightly said, "Long Fei, it's time for your death." And then, his figure moved, and disappeared into the void of battleground. Boom. 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 The third entrance opened. Within the valley, space twisted. In that instant, the evil god shouted, "Archers, get ready." Creak, creak, creak. On both sides of the valley, tens of thousands of archers drew their bows and arrows, aiming at the entrance. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Rumble, rumble, rumble. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The door opened and the first group of people rushed out. At this moment, the evil god gave the order, "Shoot, whoosh whoosh whoosh, asterisk whoosh whoosh whoosh, asterisk." The rain of arrows filled the sky, blotting out the sky as they crazily shot down. The battleground is different from the outside world, and the crossbowmen here are also different. If you hit the target, no matter how strong your defense is, you would be injured. Those with weaker cultivations would directly die. This space for hegemony was an independent existence. In this space, you can only choose a few cultivation techniques. Defend. Jojo shouted and flew up into the sky. At this moment, a streak of flame spread across the sky. It formed a shield of fire, blocking most of the arrows. However, many others were shot and quickly fell. Shoot again. Swish, swish, swish. Another wave of arrows fell from the sky. When Jojo blocked it with his fire shield, the energy slightly weakened by quite a bit. Moreover, under the dense barrage of arrows, the people at the entrance were unable to come out. They continued to madly squeeze their way through the demon plaza, until finally, a large number of people collapsed in a disorderly formation. Boss, this won't do. I have to break his crossbow. Why does it feel like we can't use our cultivation base here? What's going on? What kind of plane is this battleground exactly? Boss, Jojo can't hold on much longer. The people behind, stop squeezing. His heart was in chaos. Was blocked firmly at the ancient entry. The fire shield quickly weakened and Jojo's aura became a little chaotic. If this continued, she would be in trouble. Long Fei did not think that the people from the evil god palace and the main temple would actually block the entrance. This was his mistake. Ha ha ha. Long Fei, are you feeling good? This is the battleground, you trash can go die now. Ha ha ha. This is not the outside world, we are the big boss here, you dog want to fight with us for power, and you want to overthrow the main temple? You think you're worthy? Many people began to curse. The god crossbows were only the first wave of attacks. A stronger attack was waiting for Long Fei. They wanted Long Fei to lose without even being able to stand firmly. The evil god couldn't help but laugh complacently. Long Fei, you're too inexperienced. You can't beat us. Ha ha ha. Before even one round had passed, Long Fei had already lost. Even if his army had more main artifact, what was the point of having a high morale? If he couldn't even execute it, then what was the point? Long Fei did not make a sound, his idea frantically sensed his surroundings. Suddenly, the idea slightly moved as the time law flowed through her body. Time reset. Buzz. Time flowed back, and everything returned to what it was 3 minutes ago. In the Demon Plaza, when the ancient entry had just opened. Long Fei smirked. Are you strong, or are you so strong? I'll go in first, you guys follow me in. Finished. Long Fei instantly charged into the ancient entry. The instant that time was reset. The evil god also felt the reverse flow of time and space as he said in a heavy tone, be careful of Long Fei's laws of time. Careful? Heh. Too late. With that said, Long Fei's eyes turned sinister as they floated in midair. He raised his hand into the air and roared loudly, Starbook. Death Star Bomb. Is the god crossbow powerful? Let me show you what a death bombing is. With a move of Titan King's power, the gobbledegook turned over and grabbed an incomparably large round meteorite in Long Fei's hand. Darkness covered the sky. Long Fei waved his right hand. Bam! He heavily smashed down. All of you, die. Brothers, charge. Thank you for your support. Chapter 2160 Gaming. Can you ever play me? Chapter 2160 Gaming. Can you ever play me? Battleground can only bring 4 skills. Time reset was the first time for Long Fei. The second. Starbook. When the Death Star bombarded down, there was no need to waste any time. It was just a giant sphere bombarding down, not giving you any chance to explain at all. The sky darkened, shrouding the sky and blotting out the sun. What is this? What is falling from the sky? Oh my God. All of them were stupefied. The people lying in ambush around the valley raised their heads to look at the sky. They were all scared silly by this giant sphere. At the same time, Long Fei bellowed, charge out. The evil god's reaction was fast as he said in a deep voice, Source Spirit Demon General. A few God of Law-s also flew out. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, whoosh whoosh whoosh, asterisk bolts of lightning shot out like lightning, crazily flying out. In the moment that the Death Star descended, the Source Spirit Demon Generals clashed with the God of Law-s. It was also at this moment that the evil god roared loudly, everyone, don't panic. God crossbow. Shoot. Long Fei, I know that you have the power to reset time in one strike, but this is an inescapable net. He's dead for sure. The evil god shouted. Long Fei had prepared in Devil Island for an entire month. Similarly, the people of Evil God Palace and Main Temple had been preparing for this entire month. They wanted Long Fei to die here, without any chance to fight with them. Boom. 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 Bang! 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 The source spirit demon general's body was extremely large as it tenaciously resisted. The god of law who flew out mainly defended, as they released their defense to its peak. Under dozens of powerful attacks, the Death Star that Long Fei had released was forcibly stopped. Although it was still falling. But the descent was too slow. It would no longer harm those people in the valley. Very strong. The combined strength of the evil god palace and main temple was simply too strong. Any one of these two forces was stronger than Long Fei, and if they were to work together, Long Fei would definitely not be his match. He watched as the Death Star was blocked. The evil god laughed complacently. Ha ha ha. Long Fei, let's see how long you can remain arrogant for, ha ha ha. Ancient entry began to distort. The evil god's eyes widened as he shouted, God crossbow hand, get ready. The main door of the ancient entry opened. Arrows filled the sky. It shot out crazily, covering the entire sky and densely. This was to block all of them from entering the entrance and prevent anyone from entering the battleground. However, this time was different from the previous one. This time, Long Fei made some adjustments. Long Fei's lips curled up slightly, and laughed, I can still be arrogant for 10,000 years. Rumble. Ancient entry opened up, and 108 giant clans rushed out, using their huge bodies to form a meat shield, their bodies forming a king. They are super tanks. Meat. This was a tough battle. This was also a place that was easy to defend but hard to attack. As long as they guarded the exit, Long Fei's people simply could not enter. Even if they rushed in, they would have to pay the price of blood. If it was an ordinary person, it could be said that they would never be able to enter this place. But what is Long Fei? He was a pro. In his previous life, he had played over 100 different kinds of games. From the Ancient Empire's games, to the popular legends, to the Legends of the West, to the Stone Age, to the various powerful Blade and Tower games, to the Infernal Domain, to the Underground Cities and Warriors, to the world of magic beasts, he had basically dabbled in them all. Play games. In this alternate world, he could kill 100 million of them with one. Such a fierce battle. The meat tan acted as a shield to block the attack. It opened a path of blood, and the people behind quickly entered, spreading out and launching a powerful counterattack. The giant clan was the best meat. Their physical bodies were extremely powerful, so even if the arrows shot out by these divine crossbows struck them, they would still receive the least amount of damage. Moreover, the most important thing was that every one of them had Long Fei giving them an additional 10 divine healing pills. The 108 giant clans expanded into a semicircle and crazily pushed forward, allowing the arrows to hit their bodies. Just like a stone person. In less than half a minute, their bodies were covered in arrows and blood. However, none of them fell. Boom. Boom. Rumble. The 108 people heavily chopped down, forming a huge human wall, protecting ancient entry behind them. Every single arrow could fly past them. He could not see what was inside the ancient entry nor what had come in. The evil god's eyes darkened as he shouted, "Damn it!" Although he was trying to crack the god's crossbow, but the evil god wasn't too worried. His preparations were more than mere crossbows. Sword formation. As the sound of the evil god's voice faded, numerous gigantic swords appeared in the air above the valley. It was cold. Each great sword was more than 10 meters long and incomparably sharp. There was even a dark green poison on the blades. Each sword was placed on a cannon rack. All the gigantic swords were aimed at the ancient entry. The evil god laughed coldly, "Giant clan, right? Then let's see how strong your giant clan can take it." Fire. Shua. The great sword tore through the air and flew out. Long Fei's gaze tensed up. Giant clan can block the god crossbow arrows, but such a powerful greatsword wouldn't be able to block it at all, not even with a sovereign-level healing pill. Because this time, he would be killed in an instant. Divine dragon. Long Fei shouted loudly. The colorful fairy dragon rose into the air and flew behind Warrior. Next, the dragons all flew up. The evil god sneered, "What? Now, do you want another race to fight against it? Ha ha ha. Long Fei, No matter who it is useless. No one can withstand the power of this great sword. However, colorful fairy dragon and the rest did not try to block the gigantic sword. Instead, he flew towards the mountain slopes, which were the turrets of the gigantic sword. At the same time, Long Fei moved his body and retracted the Death Star. His figure moved and landed in front of the giant clan. A drop of blood essence fell and the power of the Ming clan's mark opened. Invincible. Buzz. Long Fei's body released the black energy of the underworld, and all the huge swords stabbed towards him. The evil god was overjoyed and excitedly said, "You are truly a fool, defending others with the sword. Long Fei, even if your body is extremely strong, but you can't block these swords either. Die." As soon as he finished, all the gigantic swords pierced towards Long Fei. Over 100 great swords were as fast as lightning, and the impact was incomparably great. However, as they flew to Long Fei's side, it was as if they were tightly bound by some kind of power. In mid-air, Long Fei was surrounded by hundreds of gigantic swords. The image was quite sharp. At this time, Long Fei flipped his right hand and a small golden flame appeared, coiling around all the gigantic swords. The next second, Long Fei coldly spat out one word, "Burn." Chapter 2161 Evil God. Chapter 2161 Evil God Rumble. Golden flames shot up from the sky. The 100 great swords began to burn, forming a flaming sword. Everyone was shocked. The evil god locked the space between his eyebrows. Fourth skill. It's another power that has never been seen before. Long Fei, just how strong are you? The evil god's heart tightened. All 4 skills appeared. However, the evil god, didn't feel reassured in his heart. The feeling Long Fei gave him was much stronger than the last time he was in Deep Abyss Mountain. It was really too strong. Although the battleground had restrictions on cultivation techniques. However, there is no limit to the power of your cultivation technique. The ancient fire soul's power would not weaken in the slightest. Long Fei's blood essence would not weaken. Seeing Long Fei ignite the gigantic white sword, the evil god's eyes turned cold. He retreated a few steps, but did not let his men retreat. Evil God Palace's warrior was also good. Forget about the main temple he wasn't so stupid as to defend against the swords of these low-leveled warrior soldiers like Long Fei did. To him, these soldiers were nothing more than pawns. So be it. It doesn't matter. Turn. Long Fei spoke coldly again. All the large swords turned and linked together, slowly revolving together to form a huge vortex. Boom, boom, boom. His choice was getting faster and faster. Just like an invincible wind-fire wheel. Suddenly, they fiercely flew out. Flames filled the sky and swept through everything. Wherever they went, not even a blade of grass grew. Those divine crossbow wielders were killed before they could even react. It was too fast. The surrounding god of law, the source spirit demon general, was also quickly standing at their sides. He didn't dare to approach. No one would care about the lives of those low-level warriors. The crowd burst into tears. He covered his head and scurried away. However, it was completely useless. They were quickly harvested, and were completely unable to hold on. In the distance, a god of law reported, "Lord God, Long Fei's 4th cultivation technique has appeared. His power in the battleground can no longer break through. Now Hong Tu was very clear. Even if he set up an inescapable trap at the location of the ancient entry, it might not even be enough to trap Long Fei. What he wanted to know was what kind of cultivation method Long Fei chose to enter the battleground. Now, he released all 4 types of cultivation techniques. The law of time, the power of the stars, blood essence, super force of Ming clan. Then there was the ancient fire soul. Although he knew about these techniques, Hong Tu did not know the names of them. Even the vanity deity on him had no way of knowing about them. Otherwise Starbook. Just these 2 powers alone were enough to cause them to be unable to sit still. Hong Tu slightly nodded, "I understand." Ding, 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 ding. The system beeps echoed crazily. However, these little soldiers' experience were all only one. With Long Fei's current level, these little soldiers' level was too low, he had no more experience. Long Fei did not mind at all. What he needed now was not experience, but slaughter. The god crossbows had all been killed. The soul bead on Long Fei's body uncontrollably flew out, crazily absorbing the soul in the surroundings. At this time, the system kept reminding him. Ding. Mad God's energy plus 0. 1. Ding. Mad God's energy plus 0. 1. Ding. Mad God's energy plus 0. 1. It also crazily resounded as it absorbed all of these souls, only, what Long Fei did not understand was, what the hell is this 0? 1 god of Berserker's energy? Great Devil of Soul has 100 points of Wild God energy, but these little soldiers are only 0. 1. This. Long Fei laughed bitterly. Since he was unable to check the soul bead's attributes, and did not know what the Mad God's energy was, he was too lazy to care. When the demon generals saw the soul bead flying out to absorb the soul fragments, their eyes turned sinister. Suddenly, a source spirit demon general suddenly rushed out. Long Fei raised his eyes. At this time, Yang Nantian slightly moved the main artifact sword in his hand, transforming into a carriage of 1,800 to power of main god. Whoosh 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 asterisk, he was crushed into pieces before he could get close. The soul bead inhaled again. Ding. Wild God energy plus 2. Long Fei was secretly shocked in his heart, not because he was exclaiming in admiration for the Soul Devil General's arrogant god energy value, but because he was shocked by his impulses. He said in his heart, looks like Great Devil of Soul isn't lying, this pearl might really be a sacred artifact of the soul world. Heh. Interesting. But what exactly is this wild god energy? The abnormal energy can turn trash into holy artifact. What kind of catalytic force is this wild god energy? Long Fei really wanted to know. His intuition told him that this berserk god's energy must be extremely powerful, capable of carrying lightning with it. It was also at this time. Giant Clan moved out of the way. Behind him, Long Fei's army had all entered the battleground. Their faces were all filled with excitement. In the distance, the evil god laughed coldly and said, Long Fei, today is just a greeting gift. From now on, there will be a meeting gift every day. Ha ha ha. While they were talking, the shadow of the evil god moved, quickly moving to the back. However, Long Fei did not want to let him off so easily. Buzz. He landed in the sky thousands of kilometers away, directly blocking the evil god's path. He said with a faint smile, Evil god, you need to give a huge gift in exchange for a meeting. Why are you in such a hurry to leave? His speed was extremely fast. The evil god barely had time to react. Even the evil god didn't expect that Long Fei would chase after them at this time. You know, he had just entered the battleground, and had not been able to stand firm. He should have been able to stabilize himself by now, to actually chase after him. The evil god wasn't afraid. In this battleground, he had never been afraid of anyone before. Even if it were 100,000 planes, he had never been afraid of anyone, and Hong too was the same. The corners of the evil god's mouth curled up as he said, Are you anxious to die? Long Fei said, No, I am anxious to send you to your death. With just you. With your 4 cultivation techniques. The evil god sneered. At this moment, the evil god palace's generals and source spirit demons surrounded Long Fei. And Long Fei's people were all thousands of kilometers away. The evil god looked around and said, Long Fei, you are indeed very strong, but this is the battleground, I am the master here. Before he could finish, Long Fei's figure disappeared. A voice rang out from the void. Wrong. You are a boss. In that instant, Long Fei rushed out from the void right in front of the evil god. The evil god was not flustered. Instead, he wore a sneer on his face and the shadow of an evil being began to flicker on his body. A humming sound exploded as evil figures filled the sky. Every line was an entity. Similarly, every single one of them was a void. They would not come out. His aura, strength, cultivation, and demeanor were all the same. There was not the slightest difference. Long Fei had never seen the evil god make a move. He did not know of his cultivation technique in the battleground. Once the evil god took action, the word valiant was enough to describe him. Chapter 2162 Seal of Evil King vs. Black Hole. Chapter 2162 Seal of Evil King vs. Black Hole. This was only the first move of the evil god. 3 more moves. Long Fei revealed his own cultivation technique. He also wanted to know what kind of technique the evil god was hiding and what kind of great technique he had. At this moment, Hong Tu, the sovereign, was also watching from afar. Looking at the evil god that filled the sky, the corner of Long Fei's mouth twitched, and he asked, "Clone?" The evil god laughed coldly. "Clone? Ha ha ha. Is that what you understand? Too weak." Voices filled the sky as the void exploded. His eardrums could not bear it. Even those god of law that were thousands of kilometers away were frowning, as if they couldn't withstand the sound. What a powerful strength. I've never seen the evil god take action before. I never thought that he would possess such a great power with just a casual move. Moreover, every avatar of his is a physical entity. Rather than call it a clone, it's more like a physical entity. Too strong. No wonder he was called the #1 sovereign. This time, Long Fei is going to die. He's seeking death himself, and he's even trying to probe out the evil god's cultivation method, yet he's actually stopping the evil god. Isn't he being too arrogant this time? Ha ha ha. Many people sneered. Evil god. Powerhouse. Powerhouse. The one who had stood shoulder to shoulder with sovereigns tens of thousands of years ago. He had always been in battleground. Although he didn't win. But tens of thousands of years. Just this amount of time was enough to crush everything. How high was his cultivation? It was unimaginable. Jojo was slightly worried. Bawang Hua had a fiery temper, and said, "What are we still doing here? Charge forward." Jojo immediately said, "Don't move recklessly. We will only create trouble for young master in the future, and let him deal with it himself." Yang Nantian said, "Miss Jojo is right, Long Fei can handle it." Everyone watched. Long Fei's eyes swept in all directions, and said while looking at the evil gods that filled the sky, "Did you misunderstand? Then let's see what my mistake is." As soon as he finished, Long Fei's right hand sank, great devil of soul's soul-slaying blade appeared in his hand. With a step, the blade chi raged, sweeping outwards. Shua. One slash in the air. The blade chi slashed horizontally for thousands of kilometers. Long Fei's cultivation had already reached peak realm. In terms of levels, he is not weaker than the evil god. The evil god laughed coldly. "You want to fight me? Long Fei, you are far from being enough." As soon as he finished, the shadow of evil goddess that filled the sky gathered together crazily, combining together to form a huge illusory figure. It could also be said that they had turned into a gigantic physical evil god. It was incomparably huge. It covered the sky. This feeling. Just like how a monkey was in the hands of Lord Tathagata the Buddha, it was incomparably huge, towering into the clouds. The gigantic blade chi that Long Fei released slashed horizontally across, hitting the evil god's body without the slightest bit of damage. The evil god flipped his right hand. Rumble. A dark handprint flipped across the sky, heavily smashing towards Long Fei, extremely powerful. Boom, boom, boom. The waves of energy rose as powerful impact sounds spread out, covering the entire battleground. A palm struck down. Long Fei's mind sank. The ancient fire soul immediately released a palm, and welcomed it with a palm. Bam! The power exploded crazily, shooting out beams of golden light. Long Fei's body exploded outwards, the blood in his chest tumbled, and he couldn't help but spurt out a mouthful of fresh blood. His entire body flew out tens of thousands of kilometers, like a meteorite falling, smashing a large part of the mountain range into ruins. Poochie. In the deep pit. Long Fei spat out another mouthful of blood, clenching his fists tightly, F***CK. He knew that the evil god was stronger. How could the second strongest boss not be strong? But He never thought that the evil god would be strong to such an extent. Compared to the sovereigns of the God's Mountain, he was not weak at all. He's really strong. I like it. Heh. Long Fei's mouth hooked up, revealing an excited smile. His body sinking down, he rose from the ground, and in half a second, he once again landed in front of the evil god, and said, "Strong, full of strength." The stronger the boss, the more excited Long Fei became. The evil god's technique of enlarging made Long Fei feel extremely excited. The evil god sneered, "Full force. Humph. There's something even more interesting." The evil god clasped his hands together as soon as he finished speaking. Buzz. Evil rays of light burst forth from his entire body. His enormous body shimmered in the air, giving off the impression that he was a Buddha in person. However, one was the light of Buddha. One was full of evil lights. Boom. Boom. The evil light sprinkled down from the sky and enveloped Long Fei tightly. The evil light formed a protective barrier and immediately turned into a cage, trapping Long Fei inside. Inside the cage, Long Fei could clearly feel his cultivation going berserk. His holy power value was decreasing. His physical defenses were weakening and his strength was weakening, as if the tide was ebbing away. The evil god laughed coldly, "There's more to it." Suddenly, in the sky of the evil light, there was a giant square imprint, which was like the heaven-tearing imprint. 9 ferocious demonic beasts roared as they fell from the sky. The second move. Long Fei frowned. Evil god's main artifact. Ancient main artifact. Seal of Evil King. Seal of Evil King. It really is a seal of Evil King, no wonder. It's no wonder the evil god could live for millions of years. Seal of Evil King, also known as the Undying Seal. Concealed within was the Immortal Seal technique, which was also a super main artifact. Legend. In the primordial era, there were 100,000 planes. It was a divine artifact which had been used by the first sovereign. Contained within incomparably evil energies, was the ability of the 9 evil king beasts imprinted on the imprint to devour all of their power. This was also the reason why the power on Long Fei's body had been drained. Seal of Evil King. God Hong Tu's eyes also narrowed slightly as he muttered, "Wang Xie, I didn't think that you would actually have an ancient main artifact on you. This is only your second cultivation technique. I presume you have a stronger cultivation technique?" He hid his strength well enough. Sovereigns were all secretly shocked. This showed how sharp the Seal of Evil King was. Seal of Evil King came crashing down. Long Fei looked up at the black mark, smiled slightly, and said, "Good stuff, I like it. Now. He's mine now." While they were talking, Long Fei released yet another drop of his blood essence. The evil god laughed coldly, "Defense power? Humph. Long Fei. It's no use, in front of the Seal of Evil King, any form of defense is just a decoration, get ready to die." He was extremely confident in the strength of the Seal of Evil King. "They had originally been prepared for you, Master God, but if he could kill Long Fei in front of the battleground and the others, the third hegemon, he would receive a great reward. With this reward, dealing with sovereigns would probably be much simpler." The evil god looked at the distant Hong Tu, and the corners of his mouth curled slightly. In that instant, the Seal of Evil King's power became even more powerful and violently crushed down. Buzz. A drop of his blood essence fell onto the dragon-shaped mark on his right arm. Boom. Long Fei's body suddenly sank, his entire body turning scarlet red. He was secretly shocked in his heart. Is the side effect going to happen soon? In the distance, Jojo's face changed greatly as he instantly rushed out. No matter what. The blood essence landed on the dragon-shaped mark and a dark energy from within the dragon-shaped mark was released. This time, the power was even more ferocious. Because, in Long Fei's right hand, a huge black hole appeared. "Thank you for your support." You want to scam lousy? You want to scam lousy? Dark matter. Black hole. The existence that swallowed everything in the universe was controlled by Long Fei. Last time, this wasn't the power that was used to deal with Zhong Wushuang. A bit more had changed. Long Fei was secretly shocked in his heart. Pure blood stimulation process. He was also unable to grasp or perhaps knew what kind of energy it was that was stimulated from the dragon-shaped mark, but it was clearly much stronger than last time. The entire battleground was trembling. The black hole on Long Fei's right hand was like a galaxy, flickering with spots of cold light. The evil god's eyes sank. Fifth cultivation method? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. There is an absolute limit in the battleground. You can't have the fifth cultivation technique. The evil god said with a heavy heart. Looking at the black vortex in Long Fei's hands, he felt a chill in his heart for some reason. A cold chill. Never. For tens of thousands of years, the evil god had never experienced such a feeling. This was fear. The evil god's heart shook. Wang. The fear in his heart was expelled from his body in an instant. I am the incarnation of evil. Why would I be afraid? The evil god roared in his heart as the seal of evil king in the sky came crashing down. He said solemnly, Long Fei, die. At the same time, Long Fei's eyes were blazing with anger. Evil god, explode. His right hand moved. Lifting it up to the sky, the black hole instantly began to emit a tremendous power, and the world of darkness immediately covered the sky. Buzz. 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 Buzz buzz. The entire battleground was enveloped in darkness. This scene was exactly the same as before. Darkness shrouded the world. This was the world of the chief sovereign of darkness. The black hole also crazily burst out. Long Fei felt the power within the black hole slightly, and his mind shook intensely. He was overwhelmed with shock in his heart. Is this the power of the ancient inheritance? However, not really. Long Fei was unable to release the power of the ancient inheritance with his current cultivation. Pure blood stimulation process. It could only release the power of ancient inheritance on the surface. Long Fei's cultivation was currently too weak. He was still unable to truly control the power of ancient inheritance. Of course, even the true strength of the ancient inheritance was considered unparalleled among the 100,000 dimensions. Because it came from the inheritance power of the ancient world. Darkness filled the skies. Higher, thicker, and larger. I'll let you become whatever you want. Bring it on. Swallow it. Long Fei let out a heavy roar and the vortex in the dark world began to swirl crazily, dragging the incomparably large evil god into the darkness. The seal of evil King S attacked. However, before it could crush down, it was swallowed by darkness. After absorbing the seal of evil King's power, the black hole started to wreak havoc. The evil god was struggling to hold on, the old tree rooted to the ground, but he still kept on moving, unable to withstand the black hole's devouring power. A ray of light flashed in his eyes, and with a heavy roar, he said, Hong Tu, are you still not going to make your move? He couldn't hold on any longer. They could only ask Sovereign Hong Tu for help. In the distance, where Hong Tu was, a bright light scattered everywhere. He was not shrouded in darkness. Looking at the evil god in the darkness, Hong Tu laughed blandly. Wang Xie, what does your life and death have to do with me? You. The evil god became angry and said, we are allies. If I die, how good will you be? From today onwards, I will withdraw from the battleground. Ha 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 ha. Does it matter if you leave the battleground or not? Haven't you always fought with me in the battleground for tens of thousands of years? Have you ever won? The reason why I left you in battleground and did not touch you is because you are not worthy to be my opponent, understand? As for the alliance, it's just a joke. I just want to see if you've made any progress in these past few years. It's a bit of a pity that you haven't made any progress in these 10 million years. You're still a waste. Hong Tu said coldly. Disdain was written all over his face. He had never even thought of letting Wang Xie go. And never took him seriously either. The evil god's eyes flashed with a cold light. Hong Tu, your ancestor. Then, the evil god looked at Long Fei and said, Long Fei, let me go, I will defeat him together with you. Long Fei shrugged his shoulders. No need, without you, I would have been able to defeat him too. When he entered the battleground, he had already made all the preparations. Thus, from the start, He did not have any hesitation, and directly chose the pure blood stimulation process to get revenge on the evil god. There was no room for him at all. The evil god stared at Long Fei and said, "Long Fei, you will need me. I will definitely be useful." The word begging had come out. It could be seen that the evil god really couldn't take it anymore. Ha ha ha. Hong Tu laughed out loud, and said, "Wang Xie, you are truly a pitiful bug. You have lived for thousands of years, yet you, an evil god of your generation, are actually begging your enemies. You are truly pitiful." He mocked. Disdain. The evil god was being increasingly sucked into the black hole. At this moment, the evil god furiously roared and said, "Hong Tu, even if I die, I will not let you live an easy life." Ah! Boom! The power of the evil god suddenly exploded, and the energy within his body was frantically being released. "Long Fei, I hope you can kill him. Come. Accept my inheritance." Rumble. It directly rushed towards Long Fei's head. This is the evil god's lifelong power. However, the faraway Hong Tu's lips curled up slightly as he let out a cold laugh. Ha ha ha. It's about to come out. After receiving the power of the evil god, it'll be much easier to fight against the sovereign. Ha ha ha. This is twice as much strength. He's actually becoming a sovereign of death. The army behind Long Fei all became excited. After all, this was the power of the evil god, the second strongest powerhouse in the 100,000 dimensions. Who would refuse such a power? The god of law on the side of the main temple also started to worry. We can't let him receive the evil god's inheritance. Absolutely not. Hurry up and interrupt him. We can't let him accept it. This is bad. They were worried. Once this abnormal Long Fei received the evil god's inheritance, his power would explode and increase. At that time, he was truly afraid that he would overthrow the main temple in the future. However, Sovereign Hong Tu was not worried at all. He didn't have any intention of stopping them, but he had a cold smile on his face. Moreover, what surprised everyone was, Long Fei did not immediately absorb the energy released by the evil god. With a sudden burst of strength, the black hole roared and directly swallowed the evil god inside. After half a second, the system beep did not ring, and Long Fei laughed. Chapter 2164 Evil God, Explode. Chapter 2164 Evil God, Explode. Long Fei was not an idiot. He would do whatever others gave him. Moreover, what kind of person was the evil god? He should be the most vicious and shameless person in the world. We're brothers today, and tomorrow, he might be scheming against you from behind. He believed that this kind of person would give his life's worth of effort to him. When the mute spoke, the tree bloomed like a flower. Moreover, the black hole Long Fei released was indeed powerful, but the evil god could not stop it. After all, he was the evil god, the number 2 boss in the world. How could he die so easily? The black hole swallowed the evil god, then disappeared. The system beep did not make a sound. The evil god's power was still floating in front of Long Fei, like a spirit body. Everyone was puzzled. What is he waiting for? Boss, swallow it up. Boss, absorb the power of the evil god. On the other side, main temple and the other generals rushed over frantically. We can't let him swallow it. Absolutely not. Facing the profound chi of the second powerhouse, who could resist the temptation? Who could refuse? As long as one could obtain this power, they would be able to become the second powerhouse in the world and become an evil god. Its existence was even stronger than main artifact S. However, Long Fei was indifferent. Long Fei looked at the evil god's power that was floating in front of him and smiled faintly. Evil god, aren't you tired like this? A simple sentence. The energy that was floating before Long Fei's eyes suddenly trembled. If Long Fei did not have the system, he might have absorbed it immediately. But the system beep did not ring. What did this mean? This meant that the evil god wasn't dead. The body of the evil god had already been devoured by the black hole. If he didn't die, then there was only one possibility, and that was that he was hiding within this mass of energy. He wanted Long Fei to absorb his energy and then possess his body. It was incomparably sinister. Long Fei grinned and said, "The two of you singing and dancing, your acting is really interesting. If it was in my previous life, I would definitely be able to get an Oscar. However, speaking of acting, I am your ancestor." Suddenly, the soul-slaying blade in Long Fei's hand moved. He abruptly retracted all of his strength and infused it into the soul-slaying saber. He exploded his strength and slashed down. Soul slash. Soul-severing saber. Soul-severing saber. His attacks on the soul could be said to be fatal. Under the evil god's normal state, a single slash from the blade would not kill him. However, now, when this slash landed on this force, it was like a stream of a blade. In seconds, his power quickly trembled, and in the air, the evil god's trembling voice sounded, "Hong Tu, save me, quickly. What you promised me, save, save, save." Boom. The blade slashed down. Soul destruction. The power in the air trembled and contracted rapidly. Finally, a beam of bright light exploded from the power. Finally, the entire power started to explode. The evil god's blood-curdling screams continued to ring out. At that moment, Hong Tu also did not move. Same as at the beginning. He did not have the intention to save the evil god, and from the very beginning, he had not wanted to save him. Of course. He knew that since the evil god had this move, it would naturally be good to take Long Fei's body. If he didn't succeed, it wouldn't hurt Hong too much. Anyway, it's not like he died. The only thing that could be said was that the evil god's steps were too insidious, like walking on a tightrope. If he met someone else, this move would definitely work. But meeting Long Fei, who had the system, "If you don't die, will the system beep sound and try to lie to him?" That was difficult. Now, the evil god's soul shattered and the miserable scream slowly faded into the air. At this time, the system sounded out. Ding. Long Fei's eyes flashed with a light as he said excitedly, "Second boss, what can you drop?" That was a little too awesome. Excited. Long Fei had wanted to kill him a long time ago. However, it hadn't exploded, and now it finally did. Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing evil god for obtaining 1 billion experience, 1 billion holy power value, and 1 metamorphic energy value. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining Seal of Evil King. Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining evil laws. Do you wish to cultivate it? Congratulations to player Long Fei for obtaining Evil King's power. Do you wish to fuse it? Ding. Congratulations to player Long Fei for killing Evil God. Do you want to start the lottery draw? A random lottery? Wow. It's been a long time since I've drawn a lottery. Come, come, come. Long Fei moved and said, "Activate." Ding. System notification. Level not high enough, unable to start. Long Fei. Stunned. System, are you insane? You need to level up your lottery draw. Did you get water in your brain? Long Fei was a little angry. He had never met anyone who wanted to draw with different levels. Wasn't this a scam? The activation process failed several times in a row. The level of the notifications wasn't high enough to start. Level. Long Fei was now in existence of the highest level in the top 100,000 planes. Even his experience had exploded. Since he couldn't activate it now, there was only one reason. The rank mentioned by the system was not the one of the 100,000 planes, but rather the one of the universal world S, if that's the case. Long Fei pondered for a while, then muttered, "Can't I have a good time first?" Sigh. Forget it. Long Fei kept the lottery system, turned and stared at the evil law idea, and said, "Merge." The 130th law energy entered his body. The power of the evil king. Fuse. Long Fei chose to fuse them again. In that instant, the power in Long Fei's body started to boil like crazy, streams of energy and steam emerging from his body. The air continued to emit explosive sounds. At the same time, Long Fei's body also continuously exploded loudly. The aura of the evil god spread out from Long Fei's body. Fusion. He fused it. Didn't he destroy the evil god's power? Why is there still such a powerful force? This, just what kind of special talent does this Long Fei possess? The evil god's power was obviously killed, but Long Fei still received the evil king's power. Hong Tu's eyes tensed up, and he said inwardly, "Is this the reason why Master wants your body? Long Fei, what exactly is your body hiding?" Buzz. Evil king's power erupted from Long Fei's body. He stared at Hong Tu and said solemnly, "Hong Tu, you are next." Hong Tu laughed sinisterly, "Long Fei, don't be hasty. It will make you feel better." While they were talking, Hong Tu swung his sleeves and said, "Withdraw." He didn't plan to start a war with Long Fei, because he still could not grasp all of Long Fei's strength. Of course. And it was not because he was afraid of Long Fei, but because he was waiting, watching Hong Tu disappear. Long Fei, who was floating in mid-air, suddenly dropped down, and the side effects erupted. Chapter 2165 Ancient Fire Soul Spoke. Chapter 2165 Ancient Fire Soul spoke excessive consumption of blood essence. The after-effects of the attack, Long Fei had endured it from the start. He was worried that the sovereign would discover. When the sovereign left, Long Fei could no longer hold on and directly fell from the sky. With a step, Jojo flew into the air and directly hugged Long Fei. Tears uncontrollably flowed down as he muttered, "Young master." Long Fei's face paled, and all the power from his body instantly disappeared. He struggled to speak, "Jojo, don't worry, don't make everyone worry." Then, he fainted. The sequelae were different from the last time. Last time, Long Fei had really consumed too much energy. However, all the energy in his body had been drawn out, as though his cultivation had been crippled, and he had no idea if he could recover Long Fei's energy. As he fell, the soul bead flew out. After pausing for a few seconds, a system announcement sounded out in Long Fei's mind. Ding! Wild God energy plus 200 points. It had absorbed the soul of the evil god. The evil god's soul only had 200 arrogant god energy value, which was a little too little. As to what use this arrogant god energy value actually had, Long Fei still did not discover it. No matter what it does, as long as he completely absorbed it, a hint would be revealed. Long Fei was not worried. Within the empty space, Hong Tu bowed and asked, "Master, what kind of secrets is Long Fei's body hiding? How could he absorb that person's power when that person was killed? I was flipping through all the ancient books, but I still couldn't find this technique." Vanity Deity's words were ice cold as he said, "This isn't something that you should know about. As for why, forget about Sovereign Hong Tu, even he didn't know about it. Moreover, even the entire God's tribe did not know. They were all trying to figure out what exactly was hidden in Long Fei's body. Just what kind of power did the Long residents and the Mu clan plant in Long Fei's body? Was it the power of the ancient inheritance? Or some other power? With regards to the Mu clan even was unable to understand what kind of person she really was. This was also what God's tribe had always wanted to know. During Battleground / Vanity Deity could also see it through Hong Tu's eyes, but he could not understand it either. Hong Tu immediately shivered, lowered his head even more, and said, "This disciple won't dare to do it again." Vanity Deity's expression softened as he asked indifferently, "Did something happen to Battleground?" Hong Tu replied, "Not yet." Vanity Deity said, "Not now, but it will be soon. Your cultivation can completely suppress Long Fei now, but now is not the time for you to do so. You have to wait until the time of the change in heaven and earth, when that will be Long Fei's calamity, understand? Only when you do as I say, will you be able to suppress him, and then, you'll be able to find out what exactly is hiding in his body." Hong Tu replied, "Disciple remembers everything." Vanity Deity nodded his head, looked at Hong Tu, and said, "Now that I have settled this, I will try to help you out. At that time, I will let you become an outer disciple of the Tian clan." Hong Tu's eyes shone with a bright light. Excited, he said, "Thank you, Master. An outer disciple of the Tian family? Descendant of God's tribe. What did this mean? This identity would be considered supreme glory in the universal large world. He had once wanted to keep the 100,000 planes as his local emperor, but now, the status of the outer disciples of the gods tribe was much better than the local tyrants of the 100,000 planes. His heart was instantly excited. Vanity deity looked at Hong Tu, the corners of his mouth hooked up slightly, and then he waved his hand and said, "All right, let's go back." "Yes, sir." Hong Tu's figure disappeared. At this moment, a young man walked out of thin air. Then, Vanity deity also immediately bowed, as if he had turned into Hong Tu, and said respectfully, "Young master." The young man said lightly, "Has the mutation started yet?" Vanity deity shook his head, "No." Thinking about the question Hong Tu asked, he couldn't help but ask, "Young master, what exactly is the strength that Long Fei possesses? It doesn't look like the power of the ancient inheritance, nor is it the power of the Dragon Palace, nor is it the power of the Mu clan. Instead, it seems to be a little similar to his mother's, Mu Wanus, power, could it?" The young man sneered, "What power is important?" Vanity deity immediately lowered his head, not daring to speak. Indeed, to the gods' tribe, is power important. No matter how strong one's strength was, in front of the powerful gods' tribe, they were just trash existence. The gods' tribe was too powerful. Long Fei's appearance had indeed attracted the attention of the gods' tribe, but not all attention. The young man said coldly, "No matter how powerful he is, he's just a gift for me." Vanity deity replied, "Yes." The young man asked, "How is the mortal king's disciple doing?" Vanity deity immediately replied, reporting to young master, "I have already sent people over. I'm afraid it is impossible for him to become Long Fei's extradition person." The young man nodded and laughed, "Extradition person is gone. It will be difficult for the Long residents and the Mu clan to bring him back to Universal Large World. Now, I'm just waiting for the mutation to start." However, the young man looked at the empty sky and muttered, "The change should have started. Could it be that uncle is lying to me?" Then, the young man vanished into thin air. Vanity deity also disappeared right after. Devil Island. Long Fei came out of battleground. Even after 3 whole days, he was still unconscious. Jojo served beside him the entire time, just like how she served Long family back then. Outside, countless people were anxiously waiting. The fact that Long Fei had fainted was a secret. Other than the few core members, no one else knew. Jojo muttered while holding Long Fei's hand, "Young master, you will definitely be fine, you definitely will be." Just as Jojo was holding onto Long Fei's hand tightly, a strange scene appeared. The ancient fire soul stuck its head out from Long Fei's sleeve gently, and looked at Jojo like a flame fairy. Had also seen the ancient fire soul before. There was also a sense of déjà vu. Jojo looked at the ancient fire soul, and said softly, "Little flame, how is young master now, can you tell me?" "Huff. I was just too anxious." "You're just a flame, how can you speak?" Just as Jojo was laughing bitterly, the ancient fire soul began to speak, "Master is fine, he will recover in a few more days." "Huh?" Jojo opened his eyes wide and stared at the ancient fire soul, his eyes glazed over. "You can speak?" The ancient fire soul also thought it was strange, and said in shock, "Hey, why can I speak? I can talk now? I can actually speak. Oh my god. Thank you for your support." Chapter 2166, Foolish. Chapter 2166, Foolish. I can speak now? Holy *T. I can actually speak. The ancient fire soul was beating crazily, he didn't even know he could speak. The excitement was indescribable. Jojo also laughed softly. Looking at this elf-like little naughty girl, he couldn't help but say, "Not only can you speak, your voice is also very pleasant to hear." She was like a soft little sister. The ancient fire soul was even happier. "Really? Hee. I am an ancient fire soul, so my voice must be nice to hear." Suddenly, the ancient fire soul's voice paused. Jojo looked at him and said, "What's wrong? Is something wrong with young master?" The ancient fire soul muttered, Boss Long Fei is my master, but I can't talk to him, but you. Sister Jojo, why can I talk to you? And there seems to be something special attracting me to you. What is that, ancient fire soul? Fire ancestor. It was also the fire seed of the ancient world. He had been in this place for who knows how many years because he didn't even know a lot of things about himself. He didn't even know how to activate his own power. It was now the weakest, and also the lowest. However, he was unable to communicate with Long Fei. If Jojo had not held Long Fei's hand, he would have been attracted by a strange energy and he would not have known that he could communicate with humans, and even talk to humans. Jojo was also startled for a bit, but at the same time, the ancient fire soul had a type of power that attracted her attention, as though she was one with the ancient fire soul. She did not think too much, because this was young Master Long Fei's treasure, and just this point was enough. Girl! The ancient fire soul was confused, and muttered, but even I can't communicate with other girls. Jojo said, don't think about it, what's the situation with young Master? The ancient fire soul is the young Master's treasure, no matter what, she will not take it. The ancient fire soul also retracted its head and said, he's fine, but... His voice dropped slightly. Jojo's heart was anxious as he asked, but what? The ancient fire soul said, Boss had exhausted himself too much. Last time, someone had given him a life change in order for him to survive. This time, he fainted for a few days. In the past few days, his cultivation had completely disappeared, just like a cripple whose cultivation has been crippled. If he were to use that move again, I'm afraid that he would become a cripple. I must not let him use the power of his blood essence again. The ancient fire soul's voice was very heavy. He could clearly feel the changes in Long Fei's body. At the same time, he also knew the pain that Long Fei had to endure, the pain. Estimated. No one could withstand it. Jojo's tears gushed out, he covered his mouth and did his best to not let himself cry out. He thought back to the god's martial continent, when his cultivation had been crippled, and now. This may also be the case. Her heart ached. Jojo knew clearly in his heart that it was impossible for Long Fei to not use the power of his blood essence. She was too clear about Long Fei's personality. And then, Jojo asked seriously, is there any way to alleviate the pain on his body, or directly transfer the pain on his body to someone else, and replace it with someone else? The ancient fire soul said, no one can endure the pain he suffers, it's too unbearable. The protector of the dragon coffin, was the giant dragon awesome? However, in the face of the backlash of the ancient inheritance's power, he could only become ashes. Even so, she was still unable to endure all of Long Fei's pain. If even a super-giant dragon couldn't withstand it, then who in the 100,000 planes could? Jojo asked, tell me, is there such a method? The ancient fire soul said, there is, but even if there is, no one will be able to withstand it. Furthermore, if they cannot, there is a possibility that the boss will hurt himself. The moment he couldn't take it anymore, the power of the rebound would be multiplied multiple times over on Long Fei's body. If that happened, he would not only become a trash with a crippled cultivation, but he would also die. However, Jojo's hands tensed up, and then loosened, and said, I can endure it. Help me. The ancient fire soul trembled slightly, and said, Big Sister Jojo, you can't. In this world. In Jojo's heart, Long Fei was the only one for him. She looked at Long Fei's pain. She was willing to bear Long Fei's pain herself, even if it meant increasing by 10 times. She was such a fool. Jojo said, help me. As long as you help me, next time I will tell young master to keep you by my side. He really wanted to stay by Jojo's side. That feeling of being close with him made him feel very comfortable. Seeing him hesitate, Jojo stirred him up, if you don't agree, then forget it. While they were talking, Jojo immediately stood up and was about to leave the room. Ancient Fire Soul immediately replied, all right, I'll help you, but if you want me to help you, just tell boss that I'll stay by your side. Jojo revealed a smile, amen. The ancient fire soul giggled and said, I need a drop of your blood essence. Half a quarter of an hour later. The red light in the room shook, causing the people outside to be slightly worried. Following that, everything in the room was back to normal. Jojo's blood essence was in a certain corner of Long Fei's body. She smiled like a flower and said to herself, "Young master, I'm right in your body right now, hey." He felt as if he had given everything to Long Fei. He was as happy as a little girl. Jojo was very easily satisfied, even if Long Fei's words of concern could cause her heart to be filled with sweetness. Right now, when a drop of her blood essence was left in Long Fei's body, she felt as if she was in the whole world. Her face flushed. His smile was like the blossoming of a peach flower in spring. Looking at Long Fei's resolute face, the immaturity that he had in the god's martial continent disappeared, and his face gained an additional hint of maturity, and his body started to exude the aura of a man. 100,000 planes. From the god's martial continent to the primordial divine war plane. Long Fei had grown up from a teenage boy to a man. Jojo looked at him, gathered his courage, and leaned his body forward slightly. He gave Long Fei's face a light peck, and his two large eyes flickered as they looked at Long Fei. And then, her cheeks were bright red. Her face was blushing. Long Fei's brows slightly twitched. Jojo's body suddenly shrank, like a child who had been caught stealing candy. He slightly shrank his neck, not daring to raise his head. After half a minute, after making sure that Long Fei had not woken up, Jojo finally relaxed his heart. He looked at the quiet Long Fei and the corner of his mouth curled up, revealing a pair of shallow dimples. He laughed softly. "Young master, Jojo knows that he's overthinking it, but Jojo is still willing to do anything for young master. Hee hee." Chapter 2167, The Need for New Powers. Chapter 2167, The Need for New Powers Battleground. Hong Tu raised his head and looked at the sky above Battleground. He had been constantly observing them these past few days. Mutated? What exactly is a mutation? Didn't Master say that a change is coming? What exactly was this so-called mutation? What is the great calamity that Long Fei cannot avoid? Hong Tu had been thinking about it these past few days, and still couldn't understand it. However, thinking about his identity as an outer disciple of the God's tribe, he was excited for a few days. This identity was too powerful, and with this identity, he could travel the entire universal large world. God's tribe. The supreme existence in the universal large world. To the universal large world, the 100,000 people he controlled were nothing more than a speck of dust. To the universal large world, this was the same as the mortal world. In Hong Tu's eyes, the 100,000 people were ants, and in the eyes of the universal large world, people like him were only ants. In the 100,000 planes, the martial arts trainings people were called warriors. Even if he was the controller of 100,000 planes, he was still just a martial artist. However, in the universal large world, those cultivators were called cultivators. He wanted to become a cultivator. He wanted to become a member of the universal large world, whom he had spent millions of years to fail to do so. As long as he could fulfill his master's orders, he would be able to reach the heavens in one step. What was even more exciting than becoming a cultivator was the God's tribe's outer disciples. Hong Tu's gaze receded slightly, then asked, "Long Fei hasn't entered the battleground yet?" A god of law immediately replied, "Not yet, and I don't know what the hell he's doing. It's been 7 days, and I still haven't seen him enter the battleground. Lord God, should we kill our way into the Devil Island?" The news of Long Fei's coma was completely sealed off. Even sovereigns didn't know. Hong Tu said slightly, "No need, I'll wait for him at battleground." The god continued, "Then, do you want to set another trap for him?" Hong Tu said, "No need. Only a change would happen in the battleground, and this was also the place where Long Fei would face a great calamity. What he needed to do now was not to find Long Fei, but to wait. When the change begins, Long Fei will naturally appear." The deity slightly lowered his head. Although he was puzzled, he did not dare to ask. Hong Tu looked to the sky once again. Devil Island. Huff. Long Fei exhaled a deep breath. He felt as if he had slept for a very long time, but his body felt incomparably comfortable. Just as he was about to get up, he realized that there was a person lying on his pillow. Jojo. At this moment, Jojo hugged onto Long Fei's arm tightly, traces of saliva hanging from the corner of his mouth, as he muttered, "Young master, don't leave me, young master, young master." 7 days. Jojo stayed by his side the whole time. His expression was haggard. It made Long Fei think of when he was in God's martial continent, and his heart ached slightly. Idiot. Then, Long Fei continued to lie down, and did not wake Jojo from his stupor. He was thinking about how to deal with Hong Tu. Sovereign Hong Tu is much stronger than the evil god, and also, my entire strength is being revealed in front of Hong Tu, and I want to kill him. Long Fei's forehead was locked tight. He had once fought against Hong Tu in the God's Mountain. The feeling it gave Long Fei was very strong, the kind that was bottomless. He was worried that even if he used pure blood stimulation process, he wouldn't be able to kill Hong Tu Huff. Long Fei muttered to himself, although Battleground's victory can overthrow main temples, the prerequisite is that he has to kill the sovereign, but his strength. It was completely unshakable. Can I become even stronger? Long Fei checked his own strength. Ming Clan's mark, dragon-shaped mark. Other than these two energies, he did not know what else had the power to fight against Hong Tu. As for the blasting fist, it was completely useless to Hong Tu's soul-severing blade. No way. Seal of Evil King. No way. The strength of Gobbledegook. I have never cultivated before, so I am simply unable to release the power of a Gobbledegook. Long Fei searched through everything. He couldn't find any way to kill Hong Tu. As for the system, other than the reward that his level was not high enough for him to draw, there was also the reward of the previous upgrade, the Eternal Wheel. This item had always been hanging around his neck like a necklace, and he had no idea what it was used for. And then again. Parasitic spell level *10 evolution. It was the same for him. If his level wasn't high enough, he wouldn't be able to cultivate it. What on earth is the solution? Is there any way to activate the ancient inheritance's power from the dragon-shaped mark? Long Fei felt the dragon-shaped mark on his right arm. The imprint was completely silent. There was no fluctuation of any power. Just like the Gobbledegook, he did not know how to cultivate the power of ancient inheritance. Just like a closed door, Long Fei was unable to enter. Use the power of the darkness to deal with Hong Tu? No. Hong Tu was unfathomable, and furthermore, his hidden strength had already been exposed. If he wanted to fight against Hong Tu, he would need a new power, a strong power. Only a new power could make it hard for Hong Tu to guard against it. However, Long Fei was now at the highest level, it was simply too difficult to obtain new strength. How could one obtain new strength from the 100,000 planes that Hong Tu controlled? All of his power was within his grasp, this new power was too difficult. Long Fei's expression sank, and let out a long breath. Is there really no other way? Suddenly, when Long Fei saw the space ring, he was shocked. Arrogant god energy value. That's right. The arrogant god energy value must be hiding a powerful strength. If I can burst it out, with the power of the dragon-shaped mark, I will definitely be able to defeat Hong Tu. But Long Fei's forehead was locked again. Until now, he still did not understand what kind of power the mad god's energy was, nor did he know how to unleash it. This was the thing that gave him the most headache. He opened up the system to check the attributes of the soul bead. Item, soul bead grade. Attribute. The only thing he needed to start with was the 350 points of energy values accumulated over this period of time. What's the use of energy values? There was no explanation. Long Fei was also unable to control the power of his arrogant god energy value. What exactly is the mad god's energy? Long Fei was a little agitated in his heart. His heart was moved as he asked, "Little sister, do you know?" The Sleeping Beauty shook her head and said, "I'm not sure." She was also very puzzled. Something even Sleeping Beauty doesn't know? Who else would know? Long Fei's eyes flashed with a ray of light and said excitedly, "Chinatown. He must know. Yes. He must know." Long Fei was excited for a moment, and with a slight flick of his body, he sat up. Jojo rubbed his eyes and woke up. Seeing that Long Fei had woken up, he immediately laughed and said, "Young master, you're awake?" Long Fei laughed lightly, and said, "Is Chinatown in there?" "That's not right. He should be called Tang Renjie. Is he there?" Jojo was slightly taken aback, and mumbled, "It seems. I haven't seen him these days. In another place. In an independent space." Tang Renjie fell to the ground, blood trickling out from the corner of his mouth. In the distance, 3 men in black sneered, "The mortal king's disciple is only mediocre." Chapter 2168, Human King's Fist. Chapter 2168, Human King's Fist. Just 7 days ago, Long Fei had brought people to enter Battleground. Tang Renjie also went to another place. However, he did not expect that someone would be waiting for him at that place. 3 alien assassins. And then, a battle erupted. The 4 of them fought their way through the void. Fighting each other would last for 7 days and 7 nights. Blood trickled down the corner of Tang Renjie's mouth as he laughed sinisterly. "Your Sky Region assassins are only SOSO. God's tribe's lackey. Humph." The man in the lead snorted and said, "You can't even be God's tribe's lackey, you can only be a dead dog." The God's tribe was supreme. The Heaven Realm was also known as the Heaven Prison, the place where the God's tribe imprisoned the prisoners. After countless years of evolution, these criminals had slowly become the assassins of the God's tribe, and the Sky Prison had become the domain. To be able to become a killer in the Heaven Realm was a supreme honor even for Universal Large World. After all, the Heaven Realm was the strongest assassination organization in the Universal World. Tang Renjie slowly stood up, wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, and sneered, "Seems like you dog people have some sense of awareness, huh?" The leading man said, "It's better than you, dead dog. At least we can live, and you are about to die. You are the only disciple of the Human King and have received the teachings of the Human King, but it seems like you are only trash. Do you think that a trash like you can become an extradition person? How laughable, how pathetic." Ha ha ha. The 3 of them laughed at the same time. The corner of Tang Renjie's mouth twitched. "The most tragic thing is you two, God's tribe's dogs." As soon as he finished, a cold ray of light flashed in the eyes of a man dressed in black clothes as he said in a deep voice, "Continue lying on the ground." He moved. A huge wave of killing intent rose to the sky and directly swept towards Tang Renjie. Tang Renjie's gaze darkened, both of his feet rooted on the ground. Bam! Rumble! A huge force struck down. Tang Renjie retreated quickly. The clothes on his chest were burnt to smithereens, revealing a black palm imprint. He spat out mouthful after mouthful of black blood and his face became deathly pale. A kick that was a few hundred meters long. Tang Renjie pressed his palms down, and with a strong force stabilizing his body, he coldly laughed. "Is that all God's tribe has? It's not enough. Very arrogant. Very arrogant." The assassin laughed coldly. "It is said that the Human King is the most thick-skinned man in the universal world. I didn't think that you would see it before, but today I see it with my own eyes. However, what's the use of having thick skin?" Suddenly, the 3 of them moved at the same time. The entire space around them trembled as an incomparable amount of power surged out. Tang Renjie's pupils contracted as his heart sank. His current strength could not even withstand one move. If the 3 of them joined forces, the chances of him surviving would be 0. He is an extradite. He had to extradite Long Fei to the Universal Large World. This was a mission given to him by his master, and he had to accomplish it. Hoo. Tang Renjie exhaled a few deep breaths, his eyes turned sinister as he steadied his horse. With a deep voice, he said, "Come, you overestimate yourself. You're courting death. From then on, the Human King has no more disciples." 3 people attacked together. The scene was like an immortal performing a technique. This independent world was above 100,000 planes. 100,000 planes wouldn't be able to sense it. If someone saw this, they would definitely think it was a fight between 2 deities. If this battle were to take place in 100,000 planes, most likely, more than half of the 100,000 planes had been destroyed, and couldn't withstand their power at all. Ah! Tang Renjie bellowed heavily. The power in his entire body rumbled loudly as it formed streams of yellow astral energy to protect his entire body. At this moment, his fists moved, sinking, and channeling his strength. One person was fine. However, if the three attacked together, Tang Renjie was not his match. The moment the three of them landed, boom! A loud sound echoed out. In a flash through the air, a figure dashed out. Tang Renjie's eyes flashed with a bright light. You finally made it back, otherwise, I would really have died here. The one who rushed out from the void wasn't anyone else, but the husky that he had been carrying on his shoulder all this time, the one who couldn't tolerate the soil and water. At this moment, the immense pressure in the air instantly dissipated. At the same time, the husky rushed to Tang Renjie's side. Boom! His entire body directly merged into Tang Renjie's body, and at this instant, the strength on Tang Renjie's body began to change earth-shattering. F***CK. I have been stomped on by you for 7 days and 7 nights. I have remembered every punch and every palm strike in my heart. Now, I will return it to you all one time. The strength on Tang Renjie's body was like flames. It was as if the Super Saiyang had evolved. All the power in his body was boiling. Ah, 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 ah. Tang Renjie roared loudly. At the same time he roared, the strength of his 2 fists also soared one after another. His 2 fists automatically ignited. Flames. Earthen yellow flames. Boom! Tang Renjie's eyes suddenly combusted into 2 flames. After that he glared at the 3 people who were falling, and swept his right fist out, Human King's fist. Shua. Space itself shattered. The flames crushed everything. The 3 Sky Realm assassins didn't have any time to fight back and were directly blown into the void. In the void, the 3's bodies burned with the flames of the king's fist. At this moment, their eyes were unfocused and fear rose in their hearts. Human King punch, Human King punch, Human King punch. Lord Hierarch, save us. Not waiting for them to finish. Bang, 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 bang. Countless fist shadows exploded on their bodies, launching a crazy critical strike. One cannot die, one's fist cannot be destroyed. Unbreakable soul, indestructible fist. If the primordial spirit does not die, the fist will not be destroyed. One punch became a king. This was the Human King's fist. The 3 assassins were swept into the void, and there was only one result left for them. Death. Huff. Tang Renjie also let out a heavy breath, as he sat down on the ground with an extremely pale face. That husky also separated out from his body and disdainfully said, "Every time, you always need me to save you." Tang Renjie flicked Husky's forehead and said, "You still have the nerve to say that? Right. How's the progress of the task I assigned to you?" The husky replied, "Yes, it's done, the change is about to begin. Right now, as long as Long Fei enters the battleground, the change will occur. Right now, I'm just worried that Long Fei won't be able to hold on." Tang Renjie locked his eyebrows, and said faintly, "We have already done everything we could. This is his world, he should be the one to bear everything. He should be able to take it. He was just a extradition person. He was unable to help Long Fei. Even if he dodged this next calamity, the next one would be even more powerful. The only thing he could rely on was Long Fei himself." Hoo. Tang Renjie panted heavily as he complained, "The Sky Region assassins do have some skills, old dog. Since I'm already injured like this, shouldn't you at least hump me for a bit?" Husky rolled his eyes and said with disdain, "You're thinking too much, aren't you?" Moreover, after he finished speaking, he jumped onto Tang Renjie's shoulder and said disdainfully, "Who can kill you? To be killed in front of me, do you not wish to continue staying here?" Tang Renjie felt extremely bitter. "Thank you for your support." Chapter 2169 A Sentence, Doing. Chapter 2169 A Sentence, Doing. Wild God Energy? Never heard of it. Tang Renjie appeared in Devil Island. He had some things he wanted to tell Long Fei, But before he could ask, Long Fei had already asked him that first. Wild God energy. Tang Renjie had really never heard of it. Even in the universal large world S, there was no such power. Long Fei sighed in his heart, the sleeping beauty doesn't know, and Tang Renjie doesn't either. It seems like it will be very difficult for me to find out what kind of power the arrogant God energy value is. He wanted to use a new power to contend against Hong Tu. After all, the number one boss in the 100,000 dimensions, Hong Tu was simply too strong. If Long Fei wanted to defeat him, he would need even stronger strength. Seeing Long Fei mutter to himself for a while, the husky on his shoulder pushed him a little, and Tang Renjie opened his mouth to ask. Not waiting for him to speak, Long Fei took another step forward and asked, "Did you get beaten up by someone?" Tang Renjie was startled. His face was bruised and his clothes were torn in several places. He looked very miserable. Tang Renjie replied, "I'm fine." Long Fei said, "Aren't you very powerful? Who can beat you like this? Why don't you tell me and I'll help you settle it?" Tang Renjie thought, "Can you solve this?" The Heaven Realm assassins were invincible in this world, even stronger than sovereigns. How could Long Fei kill them? Tang Renjie replied, "I'm fine. Boss Long, right now we are at the final stage, there are some things I need to tell you." Long Fei was not interested, and said, "If there's anything you want to say, just say it." His mind was still on the arrogant God energy value, so he did not know what this thing could be used for. Without waiting for Tang Renjie to speak, Long Fei turned around and asked, "It has 300 points of energy now, does it need to gather all of them to 1,000 before they can explode?" Tang Renjie trembled, unable to understand a single word. Seeing Long Fei's distracted look, Tang Renjie also became anxious. She pulled Long Fei and said, "Boss Long, can you listen to what I have to say seriously?" Long Fei looked at Tang Renjie and said, "Go ahead." She instantly became serious. Tang Renjie was not used to it, he was stunned for a few seconds and was unable to say a single word. Long Fei said, "I told you to say it and not say it. Let me say it." Suddenly, the husky on Tang Renjie's shoulder suddenly opened his mouth to speak. Long Fei was shocked, "Husky can still speak." Husky rolled his eyes at Long Fei, but didn't bother to bullshit with him and went straight to the point. "The next time you enter battleground, the mutation will start, which means that your calamity will appear. No one knows what kind of calamity it is, but God's tribe will definitely take action. All you have to do is endure. You will only have a slim chance of survival if you can withstand this tribulation. Otherwise, everything that you have done would have been in vain, and not only you, but your dragon manor, your mother's Mu Clan S, will all pay a heavy price because of your failure." Understood. He spoke very quickly. After Husky finished speaking, the surrounding people all quietened down. Yang Nantian muttered, "Does a dog know how to speak? And he said it so well. So nimble." Husky glared. Yang Nantian slightly shrank. Husky looked at Long Fei seriously once more and said, "Do you understand now?" Long Fei nodded, and said, "I understand. What you mean is that I must endure this calamity, otherwise, everyone will be troubled." Tang Renjie said, "That's roughly what it means." Long Fei said indifferently, "I understand." Looking at Long Fei's calm expression, there was not the slightest ripple. Tang Renjie and Husky both looked at each other. Husky could not help but ask, "Do you really know or just faked? Do you know what this calamity will mean to you?" Long Fei was too calm. At a time like this, he should be a bit nervous. After all, if he lost, the Long residents and the Mu clan would suffer even more severe losses. Not only them, even the powers associated with them would be suppressed by the God's tribe. Long Fei was their last hope. If he failed, the consequences were unimaginable. Long Fei casually asked, "What does that mean?" "You." Husky was enraged by Long Fei's casual attitude. He stared at Long Fei and asked, "Do you know how much the Dragon Manor has paid for you? Do you know how much Mu Clan has done for you? Do you know that your every action and movement will determine the fate of several ancient families? Did you know that half an hour ago, Tang Renjie was almost killed by the outer space powerhouse? Do you know how many outer space powerhouses are staring at the ancient inheritance on your body? Do you know Husky said heavily. There was a trace of anger, and a sense of disappointment. However, Long Fei still casually said, I don't know, why? Poochie. Husky was dumbstruck. His body trembled as if he had suffered 1,000,000 points of critical damage. He almost lost his balance and vomited blood. Long Fei looked at his furious expression, and said truthfully, What I said was the truth, I didn't know it was because I don't know it, what's wrong? He appeared calm on the surface. Long Fei's heart surged with emotions. He did not know the price that the Long residents had paid for him, nor did he know what the Mu clan had paid. He did not care what exactly this mysterious Tang Renjie was doing here. He only cared about one thing. How to K Hong 2 to death. As for what tribulation it was, what price it was, or whatever it was, he did not take it to heart. Phut! Husky could not hold it in and spat out a mouthful of blood. Long Fei was so angry that he vomited blood. Tang Renjie looked at Long Fei, and said, Long Fei, in short, you must hold it back, you must be careful. Remember, once you enter the battleground again, the changes will begin. Finished. Tang Renjie turned around and chased after Husky, saying, Old dog, wait for me. After the two of them left, everyone gathered around. Jojo could not help but ask, Young master, what exactly is a change? Yang Nantian asked, Is it related to that whatever calamity? He said that when you enter the battleground, the change will start. You're not going in, are you? As long as we can defend the Devil Island. Bawang Hua said worriedly. Long Fei smiled faintly and said, There aren't any changes, and there aren't any disasters that I, Long Fei, cannot handle. Everyone, prepare yourselves to enter the battleground to fight to the death 3 days later. They don't know. However, Long Fei knew clearly in his heart that he had been through a calamity since the time he was in Chaos Realm. His father, his mother, had always wanted to help him escape this calamity, but had never succeeded. This was a calamity. There was no way for him to dodge it. Again, if the number 1 boss in 100,000 planes wasn't killed, how could this game be cleared? If he did not overthrow the main temple, how would Long Fei be able to control this world? One sentence. That's it. Chapter 2170, Beginning of Mutations. Chapter 2170, Beginning of Mutations on Vanity Deity's side. Vanity Deity was very dissatisfied that extradition person did not die after the Sky Region assassin was killed. However, he didn't send any more Sky Realm killers. He was just a small steward. To be exact, he was only an outer disciple of the Gods tribe, and the reason he had sent out the Sky Region assassin was because of his master. To him, losing 3 assassins was already unforgivable. If he were to die again, if that happened, he would be doomed forever. Moreover, now that Long Fei was dead, what could the extradition person extradite? Even if Long Fei doesn't die, when the time came, he would take action himself. If he couldn't deal with the mortal king, then could not he deal with the disciple of the mortal king? 3 days. In the blink of an eye, everyone in Devil Island was preparing. Everyone used the last bit of their time to become stronger. Especially Jojo. She wanted to share more of the burden for Long Fei. There were several times when Ancient Fire Soul asked Jojo to tell him about himself, but Jojo did not. Because the Ancient Fire Soul would at least have a little more security by Long Fei's side. Long Fei was also unceasingly cultivating for 3 days, trying to think of ways to increase his own strength in order to find new strength to resist Hong Tu. However, still nothing. However, in the past few days, through constant hunting and killing of sea monsters, the Soul Bead's Mad God energy had increased by another 100 points, nearing 500 points. However, there was still no reaction from the Wild God energy. In the plaza, Long Fei looked at the great army that was preparing to take action, and said with a heavy voice, "This may be our last battle, and we might die inside. Right now, there's someone who is in a hurry to leave. Is there?" The entire hall was silent, not a single sound could be heard. They were filled with hope for Long Fei and the rest, for someone to be able to kill the powerhouse evil god, who was at the peak of 100,000 planes, what reason did they have to not believe? Moreover, everyone had a hint of hope in their hearts. As long as they could defeat the main temple and kill Hong Tu, they were the gods that controlled this world. At that time, they would be placed in the divine class and would be immortal for all eternity. Wasn't this what they were looking for? All right, I won't say too much. In short, we will go in and fight. As long as you win the right to control 100,000 planes, you will be placed in the divine class and be immortal for all eternity. Long Fei let out a heavy roar. All the people in the plaza shouted in unison, myriad immortals, myriad immortals. Then, Long Fei activated his ancient entry. Charge! Yang Nantian waved his sword and took the lead to rush in. At the same time, Long Fei moved and sent a sound transmission to Li Yuanba. You can begin over there. 8 King Kong was already in place, waiting for Long Fei's order. In the air, the main temple floated silently, standing in 8 different locations. It was just like the location of a gossip. At this moment, the power from their bodies started to surge as they released different kinds of power bit by bit. Battleground. Hong Tu did not act like the evil god last time, and surrounded Long Fei's entrance. This time, the army of the main temple was waiting quietly on a huge plain. 120 God of Law stood proudly in the air. Hong Tu sat on the sovereign's throne, supporting himself with one hand as he looked at the sky and entrance. Buzz. Rumble. Ancient entry opened. A deity immediately reported, "My lord, they've arrived." The sovereign's eyes flashed with a brilliant light, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly, revealing a look of excitement. Long Fei, you've finally appeared. At the same time, he looked up at the sky. There was no change in the sky, but the entire battleground trembled slightly. Is this the beginning of the change? Hong Tu muttered to himself, but he did not sense any special energy entering his body. Long Fei flew out from the ancient entry. His eyes couldn't help but look towards the sky, yet he didn't discover anything amiss, as he stared at the gigantic plain in the distance. They were all densely packed in the main temple army. Their numbers were several times greater. After all, they were the main temple-s. A master who controlled 100,000 planes. So long as they were able to earn even more merits in this battle, they would similarly be rewarded with a sovereign's reward, the divine seal. He was in the divine class. Infinite undying. Plains war, right? Long Fei stood in the air and said with a slight smile, Dragon Clan. The colorful fairy dragon trembled. Here. Long Fei said, dragons are beasts, charge from the front. Giant Clan, the extreme abyss demon clan is the second tier. The others are in the third tier. Triangular attack. Remember, you must keep your formation. Long Fei said heavily, this time, we are not competing in terms of cultivation, but in terms of speed, in order to maximize your speed. Ha! Everyone shouted. And then, Long Fei ordered, charge. The army surged out like a raging tide, using the terrain below the hill to attack and fully implement Long Fei's tactics. The dragon race was the first to open a path to death. Hong Tu's finger moved slightly, and said faintly, attack. They don't need tactics. There was no need for any arrangements. Because their number was several times that of Long Fei, and also, they still had 120 God of Law-s. More importantly, Hong Tu did not even put these people's lives in his eyes. His target was Long Fei. Rumble. There was a loud sound in the sky. Dark clouds rolled, thunder rumbled, and lightning raged in all directions. Just a second ago, the sky was still clear, but this second had suddenly changed. The two armies charged forward like rolling black clouds. Hong Tu's eyes turned sinister. Has the change begun? Long Fei was also shocked in his heart. He had always remembered the words of Tang Renjie and the husky. The sky changed. He thought that a change had occurred. However, he was not restricted in the slightest. He roared angrily in his heart, if you don't want to live, then do it. At most, I'll just die. Even if I die, I will go to heaven. Kill. Long Fei forgot about any change or calamity and rushed out. With the soul blade in one hand, he unleashed a black blade chi and directly sent dozens of people from the vanguard of the main temple army flying. At the same time, the colorful fairy dragon's huge body collided. Boom, boom, boom. With a loud boom, a large part of the colorful fairy dragon was knocked over. As if tearing an opening, Long Fei's army crazily rushed into the heart of the main temple's army. At this moment, the battle began. Hong Tu remained seated on his divine throne, his eyes calm. Seeing Long Fei's army slaughter their way through, S army was forced to retreat step by step. He had no expression on his face. It doesn't matter. In his eyes, the lives of these people were nothing more than ants. Moreover, the appearance of the battleground was in itself a god's playground, a god's game. Both death and life were chosen by them. Hong Tu's attention was always on Long Fei. He was waiting. Suddenly, rain poured down and the dark clouds in the sky turned blood red, and the rain was blood red. Blood rain. Above the clouds, 7 blood-red full moons appeared. Hong Tu's eyes shook. It's begun. Chapter 2171, 7 Luminaries Blood Moon. Chapter 2171, 7 Luminaries Blood Moon, 7 Bloody Moons. The light was like the sun shining down. The entire battleground was covered in blood. In addition to the rain of blood, the entire battleground was covered in a scarlet color, as if it was a bloody purgatory. Seeing such a terrifying scene, everyone on the battlefield stopped and raised their heads to look at the sky. 7 blood-red moons. What is this? The sky is blood, the earth is blood, and the entire plane of power is blood. What exactly happened? Panic. The scene was too terrifying. Many people began to tremble with fear as they began to continuously retreat. Whether it was Long Fei's army or the people from the main temple, both of them were afraid. Jojo's eyes shook, and he immediately said, "Young master." Looking around, everyone was panicking and there was no sign of Long Fei at all. Jojo became even more anxious and shouted loudly, "Young master, young master, young master." Yang Nantian and the others also started to look for him. "Boss. Long Fei. Long Fei." They also did not see Long Fei. The 7 bloody moons were abnormally malevolent. Was this the beginning of the change? God Hong Tu looked at the 7 blood moons in the sky. He too did not know what this meant and had never seen this kind of strange phenomenon. However, some people knew. Within the void, the expression in Vanity Deity's eyes trembled, as he said in shock, "Young master, could it be that these 7 rounds of blood moons are?" "That's right." It was as if he didn't have the courage to say those words. The young man was similarly shocked, and his fists couldn't help but secretly clench. In his eyes, besides shock, there was also a trace of jealousy and disdain. He clenched his teeth and relaxed slightly. It's the 7 luminaries blood moon Vanity Deity's body started to tremble and his lips started to tremble. He stuttered, 7 luminaries blood moon, this. What? Why did it appear on his body? Could it be that the ancient inheritance on his body is even more? He didn't say the last word, strong, so he didn't dare to say it out loud. Emperor Xian. God's tribe Jizun. The ancient inheritance in his body was unrivaled. Back then, he had relied on the inherited power in his body to suppress the entire Ming clan and also drive the Ming clan out of the universal world. The ancient inheritance on his body was the strongest power produced in the ancient world. Heavens! Every time an ancient inheritance appeared, it would go through countless calamities in order to sublimate itself, allowing the power of the ancient inheritance to be released bit by bit. Of course. The premise is that you have to bear with it. The tribulations that Emperor Xian had experienced back then were also extremely dangerous. The number of thousands of tribulations, every single one of them was incomparably dangerous. Even after experiencing countless tribulations, there had never been a 7 luminaries blood moon like this one before. This was a calamity from the legends of the ancient world. A catastrophe that did not exist at all. However, and now, he had appeared within a small planar battlefield. The young man slightly narrowed his eyes. An extremely cold killing intent burst out from his cold and gloomy eyes. Vanity Deity's heart went cold. When he felt the killing intent radiating from the man, he felt as if his body was continuously shrinking, and his mind was about to shatter, as if he couldn't withstand it any longer. It stopped for a moment. The young man coldly said, "He must die, 7 luminaries blood moon." The fact that there was a change during teleportation also meant that the power of the ancient inheritance on Long Fei's body was extremely strong. He had to get it. Vanity Deity nodded heavily and said, "Understood." And then, with a flash in the air, he disappeared from the void. Just like Tang Renjie, he was unable to enter the battleground, but as long as Long Fei was killed, it was equivalent to Long Fei being trapped in 100,000 dimensions. There was no extradition, so Long Fei couldn't go out. Tang Renjie had been dealt with, it would be much easier to kill Long Fei now. 7 luminaries blood moon. It's actually the 7 luminaries blood moon. On a cliff. Tang Renjie's eyes shone with excitement. Ha ha ha. It's actually the 7 luminaries blood moon. If this matter were to spread to the universal world, the entire world would probably be shaken. Ha ha ha. God's tribe. Let's see how long you can last. Even if your Emperor Xian has experienced 10,000 tribulations, it has never been 7 luminaries blood moon, and Boss Long's first tribulation is already the 7 luminaries blood moon. Can you even compare to that? As expected. The ancient prophecy is indeed correct. The strongest ancient inheritance has appeared. Ha ha ha. Husky was also excited. He started to feel anger towards Long Fei for being a disappointment to him, but now that he had calmed down, he realized that he had gone too far. No one could do what Long Fei did. Husky slightly said, "If it's the 7 luminaries blood moon, I'm afraid Long Fei won't live past a day." The influence of the 7 luminaries blood moon was too terrifying. If this matter were to be found out by the upper echelons of the God's tribe, I am afraid Long Fei would be killed before he could even enter the universal world. An. The expression in the Husky's eyes tightened, and said, "The calamity at the 7 luminaries blood moon, the calamity risk factor has reached its highest point." Tang Renjie's heart sank as well. He couldn't help but be worried. The stronger the mutation, the greater the calamity. This kind of change had never happened before. No one knew how dangerous it was and couldn't provide any information. Tang Renjie muttered, "This will depend on himself, he should be able to endure it. Every single ancient inheritance has its own reasons, Long Fei is different from the others, he will definitely be able to do it." No one could guarantee it. Tang Renjie could only say some comforting words to himself. And then, Tang Renjie said, "Since it's the 7 luminaries blood moon, we have never encountered it before, so we can't go against it either. We should prepare in advance." Husky nodded heavily. Battleground. Long Fei. The instant the 7 luminaries blood moon appeared, a burning pain appeared on Long Fei's right arm, and this pain instantly spread to his entire body. At the same time, it also caused the Sleeping Beauty to wake up. 7 luminaries blood moon. The Sleeping Beauty was extremely shocked. Long Fei asked, "What 7 luminaries blood moon?" The Sleeping Beauty said, "The sun, moon, gold, wood, water, fire, earth is the 7 planets, and the blood moon is the killing. The 7 planets can also be said to be the 9 planets. This kind of mutation only exists in legends. To think that it would actually appear. Master. The mutation will start in a few minutes. You have to bear a lot of pain, and it is very possible that he will die." The Sleeping Beauty said worriedly. This time. She was really worried. The 7 luminaries blood moon had exceeded her expectations. It was beyond everyone's expectations. Whether it was Long Zhanting or Mu Wanna, everyone was expecting it. Similarly, it was also because of Long Zhanting that Mu Wanna wanted to change his fate and let Long Fei escape from this calamity. It was also because of this that the calamity that Long Fei had to endure became even stronger. Thus, the appearance of the 7 luminaries blood moon. Long Fei was not afraid of tribulation. The only thing that Long Fei was worried about was that while he was undergoing his tribulation, Hong Tu would kill his people crazily, so, before that, He had to defeat the sovereign. Immediately, Long Fei asked, "How many minutes do I have left?" The sleeping beauty said, "About 3 minutes. All right. I want to kill Hong Tu first. Thank you for your support." Chapter 2172, The Power of the Sovereign. Chapter 2172, The Power of the Sovereign. Long Fei had to endure this calamity alone, but if Hong Tu doesn't die, then everyone around him will die. Thus, Long Fei actually dared to kill Hong Tu before the calamity had descended. When the 7 luminaries' blood moon appeared, the sleeping beauty immediately told him the approximate time of the calamity, and at that time, his figure also disappeared. The people of the main temple's army were all looking at the 7 bloody moons in the sky. He didn't notice that Long Fei had disappeared. 3 minutes. I only have 3 minutes. The evil god possesses 10 billion HP. As the number 1 boss of the 100,000 plane, Hong Tu's health is at least more than 15 billion. Long Fei calculated in his heart and then secretly clicked his tongue. 15 billion experience. To finish within 3 minutes was no doubt an impossible task. However, Long Fei didn't have a choice. Blood moon. There are still 7 of them. It's really a mutation. Hong Tu smiled faintly and said, "It looks like I don't even need to do anything. You probably won't be able to withstand the tribulation, right?" Long Fei. While they were talking, Hong Tu's gaze suddenly darkened. He suddenly turned around and stared behind him. Suddenly, Long Fei rushed out from the void. Others might not have noticed Long Fei, but Hong Tu was paying attention to him at all times, and furthermore, even if Long Fei was hiding in the air, he could still sense his cultivation. In front of him, Long Fei was an existence that could hide anything. Long Fei rushed out from midair and immediately turned around with a cold smile. "You want to sneak an attack? You're too inexperienced." Indeed, Long Fei wanted to launch a sneak attack, but Hong Tu's reaction exceeded his expectations. Hong Tu. It was much more powerful than he had imagined. And then, Long Fei moved his right hand, a dark energy flashed out from the dragon-shaped mark, and it suddenly moved, power of the shadows. A mass of black fog emerged. Hong Tu slightly narrowed his eyes, and the corner of his mouth hooked up. "You want to seal my strength? Ha ha ha. Long Fei, with just you?" While speaking, Hong Tu's figure fiercely exploded out, his robes producing explosive sounds. The hand that was hidden inside his sleeves suddenly flipped, and a gold light shot out explosively. Boom! Hong Tu bellowed, and a strong golden light immediately enveloped the power of the darkness. This golden light was like a seal. The power of the shadows could not move at all. The power of darkness failed. All of Long Fei's holy power value had been used up, but right now he was not worried about the holy power value at all. Raising his head to consume a few divine-level medicinal pellets, his holy power value had quickly risen back to 100 million. F***CK. Long Fei cursed in his heart. Hong Tu laughed in disdain. "Everything about you is under my control. You want to kill me? You want to overthrow the main temple that I control? Long Fei, you are far from being able to do it. Ha ha ha. I have long given you a chance. I wonder if you would treasure it. Fight with me. You can fight me. What qualifications do you have? Just based on the mob you gathered? Humph. Just these trash." Hong Tu sneered. He stared at Long Fei coldly, then turned his right hand. Following his move, a huge wave of power rushed out like a tide. It instantly crushed the entire battle plains. Bam! 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 Bang! 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 One after another, the warrior was smashed into a kneeling position. Even though they had main artifact S in their hands, they were still crushed. His knees shattered. His cultivation was being suppressed. Some of those with lower cultivations would bleed to death from being crushed. One move. He had crushed tens of thousands of troops. Moreover, to put it simply, he didn't have much strength. This was the sovereign Hong Tu. This was the power to control 100,000 planes. An incomparably valiant existence. Yang Nantian was struggling to hold on. Blood hung from the corner of Bawang Hua's mouth. The colorful fairy dragon gasped. The faces of the giant clans and the Deep Abyss Mountains demon clan members all turned pale. Although they did not kneel down, they could not release any of their strength. A god of law roared out, "Kill them all! Kill them all! Kill!" The great army of the main temple, who were still in shock from the 7 luminaries' blood moon, all shook as they heard the law god's furious roar. They all pounced at the same time, like a tsunami. Immediately, Long Fei's army fell down crazily like they were cutting grass. Under the pressure of the Lord God's might, they had no way of resisting and could only be slaughtered. "Long Fei, don't worry about us," Yang Nantian roared, holding his sword tightly. He rushed forward. Yi Jingyun, Bawang Hua, Gold Robe Master, Zhong Sanqian. They all rushed forward with their lives on the line. Long Fei saw this and his heart sank. Hong Tu said coldly, "What are you using to fight with me? I'm telling you, this is a world that I control. I am the king, I am the sky. Do you think you can overturn the heavens?" Both of Hong Tu's eyes stared angrily as he looked at the power of the ancient code that was twined around Long Fei's body. His eyes turned sinister as he lifted up his right hand's 5 fingers and clenched them tightly. "Receive all 130 types of the ancient code power." Shua. A stream of power of law collapsed out of Long Fei's body. Next. Another one. Another. Following that. It was extremely fast, and was completely outside of Long Fei's control. One after another, the power of the ancient code was sucked back by Hong Tu, causing him to be unable to control it completely. These powers of the ancient code were all released by Long Fei one after another. Logically speaking, this should be his own power. But, not really. Was the ruler of 100,000 planes. Before the battleground could defeat the main temple, all of the power of law was still in Hong Tu's hands. He is the king of laws. Unless you can take over the battleground, Hong Tu will always be the controller of the laws. Watching Long Fei's every move, the main temple's god of law were all excited. "Ha ha ha. Long Fei, you're crazy. You dog, continue being arrogant. A trash who climbed up from the lower realms actually dared to challenge our main temple? Come on. Another one more arrogant. Ha ha ha. You must be a dead dog now." He let out a heavy sigh. They had been stomped by Long Fei before, but now the power of the ancient code in Long Fei's body had been extracted. The time laws were drawn out. The killing principle was drawn out. The magic rule was drawn out. The system kept beeping. Finally, the halo of the ancient code had completely disappeared and returned to Hong Tu's palm, spinning into a ball of light using the power of the ancient code. Hong Tu laughed and said, "Long Fei, accept your fate. You will never be able to defeat me in your entire life, because you cannot defeat the heavens." Good heavens. It was not him, but the sky Hong Tu spoke of was God's tribe. He had said that his master had listened to him. However, his master's attention was currently not on him, but the young man smiled faintly, expressing his satisfaction. His God's tribe was the heavens. Who could fight against him? No one. However, no matter if it was the heavens or the earth, Long Fei was the one who wanted to mess with him. Chapter 2173, 10 Essence and Blood. Chapter 2173, 10 Essence and Blood. So what if it was the heavens? So what if he was a sovereign? To provoke this, father. Even if I die, I will kill your entire family. After the power of the ancient code was separated, Long Fei didn't care in the slightest, because he did not need to rely on the power of the ancient code to deal with Hong Tu. He could deal with the god of law, but against Hong Tu, the power of law was completely useless. You are the heavens. Undefeatable. Today, I will defeat one of them. Suddenly, Long Fei's brows twitched, and 10 essence and blood rushed out. 10 fingers. A drop of blood essence floated above each of his fingers. The sleeping beauty immediately said, "Master, are you crazy? It can't be like this. Stop, you can't do this." "No." Hong Tu's eyes became sinister, and said, "Pure blood stimulation process? Long Fei, Can you change to a new move? Such a move. It's useless to me. A golden light flashed. A ray of golden light enveloped Hong Tu. It was also at this time. Jojo looked up at Long Fei, who was in the sky, and laughed blandly. Then, she turned around and walked towards the exit of the ancient era. His speed was extremely fast. He didn't look back. When the ancient fire soul felt Jojo leaving, it directly came out of Long Fei's body and shouted crazily, "Boss, don't ever use the pure blood stimulation process. Sister Jojo will die, don't. However, no matter how much it yelled, it was useless. Long Fei couldn't hear what he was saying at all. In this world, only Jojo could hear what she said. Even if Long Fei was her master, he would still not hear it. Long Fei did not know that Jojo had left a drop of blood essence in his body, nor did he know what happened while he was unconscious. Seeing the ancient fire soul jumping in front of him as if it was extremely anxious, Long Fei laughed lightly. "Don't worry, I'll be fine." He thought the ancient fire soul was worried about him. The ancient fire soul was still madly jumping and roaring hysterically. Don't, boss, I'm begging you, don't use the pure blood stimulation process. Don't use so much at once. Sister Jojo will die. I'm begging you. However, no matter how she shouted, no matter how Long Fei jumped, he could not hear what the ancient fire soul was saying. Long Fei said, "Don't worry." He was going all out. Long Fei could not find a way to kill Hong Tu, nor could he find any power that could deal with him. Pure blood stimulation process was his only choice. One drop was not enough. It was not enough to kill a single drop of Hong Tu. Then 10 drops. The 10 essence and blood had forcefully stimulated the power of the ancient inheritance in the dragon-shaped mark, so as long as the power of the inheritance was to be released by a bit, he would be able to kill Hong Tu. At this time, this was the only way. Time passed by second. The 7 luminaries' blood moon in the sky became more and more scarlet, and Long Fei could already feel the condensed power within the 7 luminaries' blood moon begin to move strangely. He was very clear in his heart. The strange movement of power within the blood moon was the beginning of his calamity. He had to kill Hong Tu before then. He had to. Even if he had to sacrifice his life, he had to kill Hong Tu first. If Hong Tu did not die, then everyone around him would become like what happened in the Chaos Realm. Long Fei absolutely could not let that scene occur again. Absolutely not. Therefore, Long Fei ignored everything else. Rumble. The 7 luminaries' blood moon began to emit a rumbling sound. Ba Wang Hua shouted loudly, "Long Fei, don't worry about us. Boss, don't worry about us." At the same time, beneath the main temple, 8 King Kong's power started to burst out like a beam of light. Buzz. Intense buzzing sounds rang out in the air, and everything in the surroundings began to tremble. Boom. 8 violent sounds broke through the horizon, forming a pillar of light, directly piercing through the plane of the main temple. 8 heaven pillar, just like 8 gigantic nails, they ruthlessly pierced through the plane of the main temple. Next, the plane of the main temple began to crack. The plane of the main temple began to split apart, and the newly rebuilt sovereign's palace instantly collapsed into rubble. The huge statues of the God of Law crumbled one after another. The strength of 8 heaven pillar S was too strong. He was going to destroy an entire plane. In other words, a planet was directly destroyed. This power. The cow was a mess. Main temple collapsed as the statue of the god collapsed. Inside the battleground, the God of Law began trembling uncontrollably. What happened? Our deity root. Our deity root has cracked. Main temple. Lord God, someone is destroying main temple. Our god roots are collapsing. The faces of the 120-odd God of Law turned pale. All of them fell into a state of extreme panic. What did the deity root mean to them? This meant that they had a very strong foundation. If a God of Law did not even have a deity root, their death wouldn't be too far off. Hong Tu also felt it. His eyes trembled as he stared at Long Fei and said, "You're 8 King Kong. Only now did he realize that Long Fei's 8 King Kong did not appear. It was also because he had placed all his attention on Long Fei that he had neglected the 8 King Kong. But it was too late, the main temple had already collapsed, the god of law's divine root had also collapsed, and what was more, even his cultivation was affected. This caused his host divine might to loosen. Yang Nantian gasped for breath, the main artifact in his hand slashed down, killing a panicking law god. With a roar, he shouted, "Go back and kill him, kill." He began to retaliate madly. From the start of the battle, many people died and fell. The soul bead on Long Fei's body had never heard of it before, and had been continuously absorbing, while the wild god's energy also continuously increased. Whether it was the people from the main temple or his people, as long as they died, they could absorb the arrogant god energy value. Long Fei did not care so much. Now, his attention was still on the pure blood stimulation process. At the exit, Jojo turned around and glanced at Long Fei. With a smile on his face, he muttered, "Young master, you have to stay alive and sound." He. Then, he walked out of the battleground and returned to the Devil Island. She did not want Long Fei to worry. She did not want Long Fei to find out because she was afraid that it would affect Long Fei. From the moment she came to the Long family, she had been following behind Long Fei in fear, like a follower. From the moment she displayed the power of a phoenix blood vein in the imperial palace, Long Fei had been her everything from the moment he entered her heart at such a young age. She was willing to give up everything. He would never regret it even if he died. The ancient fire soul was still jumping crazily. Long Fei no longer said anything. The main temple was destroyed. This was when Sovereign Hong Tu was at her weakest. Long Fei moved his fingers, dragon-shaped mark, ancient power. Activate for me. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories,